I'm a little rusty on it.
I'll hum it for you.
All right. Oh man. Okay. Finally. What? Your AirPods. Here you go. Your AirPods. All right. All right. Hello. Yeah. 30 minutes late. Just wasn't home amongst trying to get things set up. Stuff not cooperating. It's fine. It's fine. You were fine. I was fine. Everyone was fine. Let's get going. Let's do the intro. We're getting out of here and we're getting right into it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you might be watching this. My name is Josh and welcome to my channel. On here we talk news, politics, and current events, and we're going to do that right now when we talk about Tucker Carlson. Let's go. Let's freaking go. I forgot to hit the button. All right, let's get out of here. All right, let's go. Tucker Carlson clearly wants to launder some narrative of the January 6th riots. Let's see how successful he is.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson's and happy Monday. We're about to show you surveillance footage from inside the United States Capitol.
Whoa, something we have never seen.
You'll see were recorded 26 months ago today.
No, that's distracting.
Until now, politicians have kept this tape hidden from the public. There is no legitimate justification for that, and there never has been.
Okay, let's keep in mind, off the bat, y'all, off the bat, Tucker Carlson has already kind of like set this up, I think, I mean, let's be honest, the guy's lying, and it's not even so much that he's lying, so much as he's trying to frame everything in the absolutely most biased possible way, right? Because, like, Tucker Carlson will say, you've seen the January 6th footage that's been released. And then, you know, we all have seen the footage. We all know what's going to be in here, right? We all know, like, all the common video clips that we see, people bashing in the windows, people, laying the smack down on the police. We all know this. But Tucker Carlson, apparently, I guess he was given access to like a lot of the video material by like Kevin McCarthy, apparently. But Tucker Carlson and his team combed through all of the footage that was available for them to find something, some piece of just groundbreaking. And this is what what he's promoted as narrative changing and everything else. But obviously, you know, in his mind, he's like, whoa, we found some clips that the public has not been shown. So we will now show you these clips that utterly undermine the hours of footage you've seen of riotous activity inside the Capitol. And like, again, you would think to yourself, oh, what? Well, like, you know, you have to ask yourself a couple quick questions. Let's establish some quick questions here. One, did Tucker Carlson do this during the George Floyd protests? Keep in mind, Tucker Carlson was one of the main people pushing the BLM rioting, burnt down Minneapolis, all this stuff, right? When the counter to that argument was you are cherry picking the minority cases of violence and using those to characterize a majority peaceful protest. That was always the argument, not that there wasn't violence, but simply that characterizing an entire protest movement based on a minority, and I mean a minority of cases, is dishonest, right? And do you think Tucker Carlson would have given any of, you know, did he go out on his platform and go, hey, look guys, did a Target get burned? Yes, it did. But does that one building burning does that what's the word I'm looking for? Does that outweigh the thousands, if not millions of people taking to the street to protest the killing of George Floyd? The peaceful, the simple marching, all the rest of that stuff. Does any of that outweigh it? Tucker Carlson would say, what do you mean? I've been told these are peaceful protests, but yet I can find yet I can find violent action. Therefore, it must be the violent action. No, obviously, he went on his platform and like obviously did the Minneapolis is burned to the ground. There's like no more cities anymore. It's a desolate wasteland. RoboCop 3. That's what he did. But now all of a sudden, Tucker Carlson's like, hey, I found some footage that means, hey, if 85% of the January 6th riot was a riot and 15% was people standing around and kind of not knowing what to do, then obviously we should be characterizing the January 6th riots as a protest, right? But that's not, these things just aren't comparable. But either way, let's see. Let's just find out.
On January 6, 2 years ago, thousands of protesters walked from a Trump rally.
I keep thinking it's 2020 that happened. And I keep being like, is that only 2 years?
Of the presidential
Feels like 3, but I guess it'll be 3 next year.
The protesters were angry. They believed that the election they had just voted in had been unfairly conducted.
I wonder why.
Right. In retrospect, it is clear the 2020 election.
They were right. I guess if you want to say unfair, they can certainly say it's unfair, but you have to keep in mind Fox News is already in legal action with Dominion voting systems, so he's got to watch his words pretty tightly. Unfair is like, well, people thought it was unfair. That's factually correct. I think it was unfair. I think it's unfair that Republican voters don't just get to decide the president, that a minority party with a minority of the population behind it should get to choose the path forward. You can say that's unfair. Now, if, is it true? Not really. That's not how democracy works, but, but keep in mind, Tucker Carlson is one of the prime suspects to why they showed up at this rally, why they showed up doing the things that they did.
Was a grave betrayal of American democracy. Given the facts that have since emerged about that election, no honest person can deny it. Yet the beneficiaries of that election continue to lie about what is now obvious. The real crime, they will tell you again, is not what happened on Election Day 2020. The real crime is what happened 2 months later on January 6th, when Donald Trump led an insurrection against the duly elected American government.
Well, technically, he didn't lead anything. Chicken shit didn't even show up to the Capitol. Even though it seems like, reports go back and forth, but it seemed like he kind of wanted to be there, so.
To prove that claim and to divert attention from the details of the presidential election itself, Democrats in Congress impaneled what they called the House Select Committee on the January 6th attack.
What they call...
The point of that committee was to prevent
it's always
Donald
House
Trump
Select
from
Committee
running for
on
president
X
again.
thing.
In December of last year,
I always love Republican framing of anything like Democrats do, even though it's the naming convention that basically all investigatory committees get. It's always House Investigatory Committee on blank thing. But the Republican audience who watches this stuff, every single time Democrats do anything that is most of the time rather banal and usually not that interesting, they always have to turn anything into like this oppositional, like they're coming for your guns, they're the so-called House Committee on Violence and it's like, calm down. They're all called that. It's not unique. Jesus Christ.
Your committee members voted unanimously to refer Trump to the Department of Justice for criminal prosecution. Mission accomplished. But what the committee
and then they didn't do it.
Was explain what happened inside the Capitol on January 6th. 3 weeks ago, thanks to the new Republican Speaker's office, we gained access to thousands of hours of surveillance video that help answer that question.
Thousands of hours.
The January 6th committee had access to this.
Now, you might be wondering to yourself, how is it that like the entire January 6th event lasted a couple hours? How is there like thousands of hours of footage? To which that one's really easy. It's just, if you have like 10 CC cameras filming, 5 hours, you have like 50 hours right there just of those specific closed circuit cameras, along with any other footage. So keep in mind that's all body cam footage. That's probably a lot of footage confiscated from people who went to jail for this. So any of their phones, any videos that they took, people just filming in general, not part of the rally, stuff that showed up on social media. Like, is quite, I can imagine there's quite a lot of footage of everything that went down that day. But keep in mind, thousands of hours, you've seen some of the most extreme stuff. Keep in mind,
very same tape.
like,
and watched
will
much
this,
of it.
does this negate
we're
any
about
of
to show
that?
you, committee
Does this,
members lied about what they saw,
mystical
and then
space
hid the evidence
typhoon
from the
any
public,
of
as
that
well
other
as from
video
January
footage?
6th criminal defendants and their lawyers. That is unforgivable. Whatever you think of Speaker Kevin McCarthy, he rectified that crime, and we are grateful that he did. Before we show you the tape, a few words on the process. Our producers have unfettered...
Okay, dude, you need to hurry up. You're taking too long. This is such a setup. Is it a wonder? This is a 5.5-minute segment. If the evidence is so damning, why are we spending less than, what, 2 minutes on it? Does this... Don't you fucking tell me somehow I found the one... No way.
Mapping software that made it easy to find what we were looking for. What we didn't have was access to facial recognition software, and that was significant. For more than 2 years, we have wondered why some in the crowd that day who seemed to be inciting violence were never indicted for it. We assumed these were federal agents of some sort. We still assume that. And in fact, there were many examples of behavior we saw in those tapes that didn't seem to make sense. Men in civilian clothes holding...
Ugh. I cannot believe we watched all of that. Okay, let's... God damn it. Okay. Anyway, all right. So this is the actual footage that they presented. All right, so we've seen this.
These are the pictures you've seen
of
January 6th. They're familiar because they've been playing on a loop on every media outlet in America for the last 2 years. There's a reason for that. But it turns out there's quite a bit of video you haven't seen. And that video tells a very different story about what happened on January 6th.
Oh, hey, yeah, that guy just stood up a fucking legs.
In and around the Capitol have been withheld from the public. And once you see the video, you'll understand why. Taken as a whole, the video record does not support the claim that January 6th was an insurrection. In fact, it demolishes that claim.
Ah, yes. It can't be an insurrection because at this point, they've already broken into the building, seized control of it. And do you notice the cops here? Okay, so let's keep this in mind. There's a police officer here. We've seen police throughout, like, you know, in the little clips that they've shown so far. They've shown, like, you know, there's been police kind of hanging around these, hanging around the rioters, the protesters, as Tucker would, I think, rather have it. But, like, the question needs to be asked, what the fuck is this guy supposed to do to all of these people? Like, what is he supposed to do? What, is he supposed to arrest all of these? He's got exactly one pair of cuffs. At this point, the cops already have come to an understanding of, like, okay, we are in damage control. There is no version of this where we can actually arrest people and start, like, challenging them. I mean, I guess they could have if they brought, you know, the kind of weaponry and gear that they brought for BLM protesters, but they didn't do that. And there's a conversation to be said around that, why the Capitol Police did not take this threat seriously and we're not interested in stopping them from getting in here. But by no means does, like, okay, so after they broke in, after they broke windows, after they ransacked the building, they hung out. Okay, yeah, like they were waiting for Donald Trump to show up and, like, I don't know, take control of the government forcefully. Like, that was the plan, right? That's what they're all waiting for. They're waiting for Trump, but he never shows up. He tells them instead to go home.
That's exactly why the Democratic Party and its allies in the media prevented you from seeing it. By controlling the images you were allowed to view from January 6th, they controlled how the public understood that day. They could lie about what happened, and you would never know the difference. Those lies had a purpose.
Better question, why can I
It
not
created
see
a
it?
pretext for a federal crackdown on opponents of the Uniparty in Washington.
Our office wanted to ensure that there was shock and awe, that we could charge as many people as possible.
The first thing you notice from viewing the full video record of January 6th is just how many people entered the Capitol building that day. Hundreds and hundreds of people, possibly thousands, over the course of about 2 hours.
Yeah, illegally.
The crowd was enormous. A small percentage of them were hooligans. They committed vandalism. You've seen their
Yep.
pictures again
That's-
and again.
Yeah.
But the overwhelming majority weren't. They were peaceful. They were orderly and meek. These were not insurrectionists. They were
Yes.
sightseers.
Like,
Footage from inside the Capitol overturned.
yeah, you're a sightseer when you enter the grounds legally, not when you break in. You don't, like, this would be the equivalent of somebody breaking into your home and, like, you know, they, like, busted, like, you know, one of your nice vases, but then just kind of, like, hung out. You know, they just kind of looked at your, like, nice family photos, you know, kind of looked around your kitchen, complimented the, you know, the aesthetics of how you placed everything in your living room, and then was like, what? I didn't break in. I'm not breaking and entering. I'm just here. I'm just here appreciating your home. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, also, like, do you, again, keep in mind, like, does Tucker say any of this for the BLM protests? Again, like, when it comes down to it, if he can paint a majority peaceful protest with its most violent minority action, then, like, and he wants to do literally the exact opposite. He wants to paint a majority violent protest action with the actions of the minority peaceful group. Like, it's actually fucking insane. Like how anybody falls for this, and I don't really think anybody does. I don't think anybody who watches Fox News thinks like, oh yeah, like it was like peaceful. What are the, you know, why does everyone get all up in arms? It was totally peaceful. They were totally just like sightseeing. Like, this is not sightseeing. Sightseeing is not, you don't break into the Louvre and then go, I just wanted to see the paintings, all right? Like, no, like, there's a time to sightsee and a time when you're trespassing.
Turns the story you've heard about January 6th. Protesters queue up in neat little lines. They give each other tours outside the speaker's office.
No, I can't.
They take cheerful selfies and they smile. They're not destroying the Capitol. They obviously revere the Capitol.
The revenge of the M&Ms.
They're there because they believe the election was stolen from them.
I'll play it after the segment.
They believe in the system. Here's the man you've heard referred to as the QAnon shaman outside the Senate chamber.
Like, yeah, these guys are fucking buffoons. Like how does this invalidate anything? Yes, you're right, Tucker. Your audience and these guys are fucking buffoons. They showed up to overtake a federal building, one that the police, an institution who is rather consistently sympathetic to their causes, did not properly stop them from doing, and then came to the realization of like, oh shit, I have like no idea what I'm fighting about. I have no idea what I'm rioting about. I have no idea what I want to happen next. All I did was want to exercise my anger. Like, yeah, they're fucking buffoons. Like,
these are not rioters. These are people who wandered over from a political rally.
We will not let them silence your voices.
After the rally, they walked down Pennsylvania Avenue, where organizers had secured a federal permit to hold a legal rally on the grounds of the Capitol.
Legal rally.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Once at the Capitol
And then it
building, things
didn't
began to
happen.
get chaotic. Capitol police officers fired tear gas into the crowd. A few at the
Since
front
when has Tucker Carlson ever had a problem with tear gas? Like, when it comes down to it, it's always like, when it comes to Tucker, it's always like, you can't throw tear gas at good conservative Republican voters. That's not acceptable. And then, like, when it's leftists, when it's socialists, when it's communists, when it's black people, when it's brown people, when it's anybody who's not explicitly in Tucker Carlson's conservative Republican circle, then it's like fucking pop the fucking tear gas. Like, we're at fucking Coachella, guys. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, it's so disfucking honest. Like, please fucking spare me.
One of the herd broke windows. Someone opened the doors, and many hundreds of
Three
others
people.
just
That
walked
was
in.
a stereo super kick.
Of course, they did make it the story. And at the center of it, the single most famous person arrested that day
This fucking
was a Navy
larper.
veteran from Arizona called Jacob Chansley, often referred to as the QAnon shaman.
The so-called QAnon shaman.
QAnon shaman.
Someone named Q Shaman.
Jacob Chansley became
That's like
the face
that
of
was
January.
wasn't that like his fucking name too? Like, they make it sound like he was called that. Like, no, I'm fairly certain that was like his name beforehand.
6th, a dangerous conspiracy theorist dressed in
Yep.
outlandish costume who led the violent insurrection to overthrow American democracy. For these crimes, Chansley was sentenced to nearly
Lock
4
him
years
up.
in prison,
Lock him
far
up.
more time than
Lock
many
him
violent
up.
criminals now
Lock
receive.
him up.
What did Jacob Chansley do to receive this punishment? To
Trespassing.
this day, there is dispute over how Chansley got into the Capitol building.
Probably the
according
way.
to our
Wait,
review-
probably the way everybody else did. They broke in, and then a flood of people like rushed in. Like, you know, now that I think about it, he got in the same way you get in when you play that one Fall Guys level with all the fucking doors. Like, everyone just rushes to one of the entrances and then just kind of elbows their way in while trying to get through. Like, there's not really that much of a debate on this. Like,
Of the internal surveillance
also,
video,
doesn't
is
matter.
very clear what
It doesn't
happened
matter how
once
he got in.
inside.
It was
Virtually
illegal to be
every
there to
moment
start
of his
with.
time inside the Capitol was caught on tape. The tapes show that Capitol Police never stopped Jacob Chansley. They helped him. They acted as his tour guides.
Wow, you've really
Here's
got me
video
there.
of Chansley in the Senate chamber. Capitol Police officers take him to
So what you're telling me is the Capitol Police did not act consistently with their normal police procedures of trespassing? Whoa. Wait. Tucker, you do realize this shows an obvious bias from the police on your side? Like I don't know if he doesn't realize this. Maybe his, like, you know, silver spoon brain hasn't quite figured it out yet, or maybe he can't see it. But yeah, idiot. One of the arguments during and after January 6th was how disproportionate the response was by Capitol Police. The Capitol Police, you're showing everybody right now that the left and Democrats were right. You moron. The fucking police were okay and sympathetic and actively aided and abetted some of these people while doing their nonsense riot. Like, yeah, no shit. Not only that, keep in mind, even if we're being, let's be charitable to the police for a moment. Let's say these guys, one second. Let's assume that these officers are not actually, you know, they're not cool with the QAnon shaman. They're like, they're not down with the 88, right? They're not down with any of that shit. Then what are they doing? They can't arrest. What are they going to do? Arrest the guy? How the fuck are they going to get him out? The entire building's been sieged. They have the best case scenario for any officer at this point is to reduce damage and harm. But like, arresting anybody is not going to matter. They brought guns. They were ready to, there were already officers who were beat to shit outside. So do you think these two guys are like, all right, we're going to like totally take this shaman guy, and there won't be a disproportionate violent response to meet us when we walk him out in handcuffs? No, they were like, we don't want to get fucking pummeled. So we'll kind of guide the guy around, let him kind of do his thing, you know, make him feel kind of like, welcome into the building. And then, you know, hopefully he kind of runs out of gas and goes the fuck home. That's like best case scenario. For once, the police know how to de-escalate a situation. Funny that.
multiple entrances and even try to open locked doors for him. We counted at least 9 officers who were within touching distance of unarmed Jacob Chansley. Not one of them even tried to slow him down. Chansley understood that Capitol Police were his allies. Video shows him giving thanks
It's almost
to them
like
in a
the
prayer
police
on the floor of the
are
Senate.
kind of
Watch.
corrupt.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for giving the inspiration needed to these police officers.
Fun fact, they're trespassing right now. They're trespassing on federal property.
To allow us into the building.
Contrast the reality of what Jacob Chansley did in the Capitol building on January 6th.
Trespass.
The indisputable facts recorded on video, some of which has never before been seen, with the depiction of Jacob Chansley that you've seen in the media for more than 2 years. He's a terrorist, they said. He should be killed.
Shoot him.
Thank you. God, somebody gets it. Like at the end of the day, like Tucker Carlson is trying to be like, hey, you know, you might have seen people breaking glass and like disrupting order in the Capitol on January 6th. But did you know that they walked calmly down the halls every once in a while? It's crazy, I know. Did you know that they weren't smearing shit all over the walls and firing off AR-15s constantly? I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Shoot him. Like, if you burst into the United States, hey, if he was dressed like Bin Laden, would you have shot him?
Shoot him.
Bin Laden,
Shoot
you
him.
don't even have to go to Bin Laden.
Makes you wonder, who are the violent extremists here? Not Jacob.
Not only that, but like if you shoot this guy, do you know how many people you're like are gonna like draw weapons on you? If any of these cops do anything, if any of these cops tried to take this guy into custody or shoot any of these protesters, we would have like armed like fucking shots fired in the Capitol. Like, we're lucky they had restraint. The only time they seem to have restraint, the police. But like still, like, yeah, they didn't fire at anybody because they were already outnumbered. They already knew that if we fire on some people, we're all dead. And these people will just run roughshod over the whole building.
Chansley, and the video proves that. But you would never have known from the media coverage.
The people sitting in the chairs need to be sitting in a jail cell.
Chansley is in a jail cell. He's been there for months. If he
Keep
was in
him
fact
locked up.
committing such a grave crime,
Not
why
as good.
didn't
Not
the
as good.
officers who were standing right next to him place him under arrest? Until now, no one could even prove that even happened.
Well, there's two really easy answers. One, it wasn't strategically feasible and wouldn't be effective. There's only so many pairs of handcuffs you can have. And two, here's the other answer, Tucker. The police are as corrupt as all the leftists have been saying, and thank you for presenting us with evidence. But none of this footage negates any of the other footage. It's not like, hey, you saw that guy break a window? He also walked down the hall very calmly. See, isn't he peaceful? Like, no, that's not how this works. That's not how that works. Man, that was actually kind of worse than I thought it would be. Okay, let's see. What is this? Woke M&Ms. Oh no, I love M&Ms. Actually, I'm just kind of okay with M&Ms. Why can I not? We'll just do this one here. It doesn't want to go from window to window. But there's a solution. There's always a solution. Ugh. There we go.
Woke M&Ms have...
It still didn't do it. Go into this window, damn you. Into the... Fine. Gonna make me do this. There we go.
Woke M&Ms have returned. The green M&M got her boots back, but apparently is now a lesbian, maybe? And there's also a plus-size obese purple M&M, so we're going to cover that, of course, because that's what we do. Woke M&Ms have returned. The green M&M got her boots back, but apparently is now
Hit me with it again.
And there's also a plus-size obese purple M&M, so we're going to cover that, of course, because that's what we do.
Dude, the fucking M&M shit is fucking wild to me. Like, my man really went on like a million like viewer plus platform and was like, oh yeah, like I wanted to bang like the M&Ms, but then they made them not hot to me, which is just a massive like self-report, just an utterly massive self-report. But okay, cool. So so we kind of looked at took a look at that. We have, I think, some more like pressing. Actually, one second. I'm gonna fix this because I just realized how warm it is, and I'm gonna open this window a little bit. Ugh, goodness, there we go. Ugh, shit. Okay, there we go. Whew, I can already feel the cold air sweeping in. Okay, so every once in a while, so usually we stick with like politics, news, stuff like that on this channel. But if I like one of my, is it a guilty pleasure? I don't know if it's a guilty pleasure, but one of the like genre videos that I will inevitably click on because I am weird, I guess, is like your quartering, your geeks and gamers, your what's that one dude's name? He went like viral with that like the Joker is the most important thing post movie. Why even this Parasite? It's that guy, right? Like those channels I absolutely love watching and yelling at in my private time. I don't know why. There's something wrong with me in that case. I just like being angry at those videos, mainly because they take a genre, or like, you know, I like movies. I watch a lot of movies. I feel like sometimes I say that and then I'm definitely missing like key movies and like filmography that I should know. But like, you know, they're always bitching about the MCU. They're always bitching about the woke this or woke that in kind of like, you know, nerdy spaces, right? And as somebody who grew up like, you know, in the 90s, you know, grew up with Batman, grew up with comics, Batman the animated series, you know, the Spider-Man the animated series with the Spider-Man movies, Blade, all of this stuff. I grew up with a lot of this kind of nerdy media, right? And like I watch these channels get on, you know, these guys come on their channels and bitch and moan and whine and pretend to speak for people like me, people who are nerds, people who are geeks, people who you know, now don't really have the same kind of identity. I do feel like part of their issue is they've come to realize that like they're, you know, basing their entire identity around like comic books really hasn't paid off very well, because now they're no longer this like oppressed little group of nerds who just like their D&D and stuff. Like now everybody's into comics. Now everybody's into Marvel shit, into DC shit, into all the nerdy shit from when, you know, maybe you get made fun of, but even then as a kid we never got made fun of it. But I always get drawn to these videos because my brain is always like, fuck you guys. You guys speak for the worst segment of fandom. To which we have two videos that we're going to watch. One of them is a little bit shorter. It's one of them's a little bit shorter. I want to hear this take, but the other one is going to be about something I actually know a decent amount about. So let's get into it. This isn't, I don't know if this is politics. I think, at least to me, this stuff is what leads into more of the politics, because Geeks and Gamers, any of these type of sites, they're not pushing explicit politics, right? People don't show up for the politics. They show up for the defense of, you know, nerd culture, I guess. They show up for like the defense of nerd culture and like the defense of this one very, very vocal minority of that culture, right? But they end up pushing people down the conservative pipeline. It's kind of how, you know, it's your like warm-up course, your appetizer to conservative online politics. But either way, I've done enough introing. Let's just watch the take. God, that's a loud fucking sound.
As much as I would love to be excited for this news, because I do love Jon Bernthal. I love him as an actor and
Jon Bernthal's coming back to the Punisher. Nice.
And season
fucking
one
love Jon Bernthal.
was amazing.
It's the best part of The Walking Dead.
Daredevil season 2, that's some of the best acting I have ever seen in a TV show or a film based around a superhero. I'm a huge fan of this guy. His presence on The Walking Dead was sorely missed after he was gone after the first few seasons. Everything he's been.
Let me say for the record, second season of Walking Dead, the best season. I'll die. I will fucking die on this hill. The best season of that show.
And I have appreciated, because he is just so good and so passionate. In fact, if you watch his interviews, he's just a genuinely good dude too. But that's neither here nor there.
Also, okay, let's be clear. There's a reason why. So there's a reason why conservatives love the Punisher. And the simple reason is because they don't understand the Punisher. They think the Punisher is like this like vigilante, like, you know, fighting against the like woke mob. Well, they always like frame him as like not being like this progressive guy. Like they always see him as this like strong, masculine, traditional man, right? That's what conservatives love about the fucking Punisher. It's also why cops fly a lot of like Punisher, you know, adjacent, you know, you see the thin blue line and it's in like a Punisher logo. They do that because they revere the Punisher as this, like, you know, this take the law into your own hands, the man who does the hard things that society can't handle. The Punisher in comics and his creator have already come out, both of them, in one way or another. In the comics, I believe it's a conversation or an interaction that he has like with a police officer in the comics, where like he explains to them, if I remember correctly, the police officer in this comic is all like, "Oh my god, I've always wanted to meet the Punisher. Oh, you're so cool, Mr. Punisher, sir. Oh my god, I wish I could do what you did." And the Punisher fucking smacks him down for it, because he's like, "What I do is not legal. What I do is not what your job is. Your job is to serve and protect. My job is, I don't have a fucking job. My job is to fucking kill people that I feel like killing. I'm a vigilante. You should want to arrest me for breaking the law at the end of the day." The Punisher does not advocate for what he does to the police when he's interacting with the police. And the creator of the Punisher also doesn't appreciate police pretending that that's who they should be like, because you're not supposed, like, police aren't supposed to be these like vigilante, like no rules, just blind justice type of guys. Like the Punisher is a commentary on like what's the word I'm looking for, on a bit of, I think, a commentary on Batman in terms of like normal guy, doesn't have powers, interacts with people who does have powers, but mostly does like street level stuff. But like the Punisher in and of it, like as himself, is a character that's like specifically written in an age when they wanted more gritty and like hard-boiled like characters and stuff, and more like testosterone fueled characters. But like what the Punisher does, he understands isn't good for society. But like there's a certain point of it where he's like, yeah, I do what I do because it's like I'm the Punisher. It's what I do. I do the best that I can, but I am nowhere near how the system should be. But either way, like, yeah, it's just...
in terms of his ability to play the role, he's just awesome in the role. But unfortunately, this is Disney Marvel. This is the current.
Oh yeah,
Marvel
they also
Universe.
Keep in mind, they've always hated Marvel ever since Marvel went woke, which for them, which keep in mind for them has always been Marvel, but not all white people. Like that's the thing. Is they're like Marvel, but not all white people. Ugh, thanks, I hate it. Which at the end of the day, it's like, well, in that case, then like, I don't know, read the fucking comics. Like, there are non-white characters in the comics, and these are the type of guys who constantly do like the, oh my god, you can't make Captain America black. Captain America's supposed to be a white guy. It's like totally part of his character, except it's not really. Like,
it up so badly.
Insane.
I have no interest in really watching this or getting excited for this whatsoever. However, I do feel a lot of people are going to be excited with the return of Jon Bernthal as the Punisher.
Jon Bernthal's great, by the way.
Daredevil series, but it's just like Daredevil. Daredevil, the series was phenomenal. Everybody loves the first 3 seasons of Daredevil, but then when you brought Daredevil into She-Hulk, it was a pretty big disaster. That was a terrible series altogether. So Jon Bernthal coming back.
Okay, here we go. I found the what's it called? The fucking comic strip. So the Punisher like ends up like running into these 2 dudes, and he's they like show him that he has they have like the little like Punisher logo. Let me see if I can like, can I like, will this zoom in? No, not really all that well. Okay, we can do this. So like you can kind of see like the Punisher logo up here and da 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 da, and you know they're all like fucking, oh my god, we fucking love the Punisher. It's so cool. He's like, oh yeah, what they yeah. And the Punisher's like, no, you fucking idiots. You took a fucking oath to uphold the law. Like like the Punisher understands that he's like, this is not how society's supposed to work. I'm not a good role model. I'm not the thing that you should be advocating for. You took an oath to like uphold the law. Your creed is the law. I don't follow the law. I take it into my own hands. I'm not right in this regard. But and regular, there are cops who like the Punisher who I guess just never read this comic. And again, the creator doesn't endorse any of the Blue Lives Matter shit. But either way, just wanted to throw that in there.
In reality, very, very concerning news, especially how
very concerning.
I think Ryan Kennel, actually, RK Outpost Ryan Kennel, you all know
Ryan.
This is a tweet right here. It would be cool to be excited for this, but from what we've seen from Disney Marvel,
way to not put the apostrophe in there.
Down people who use the wrong pronouns so that he can. That is an.
Do you think that's actually going to happen? Like, let's be honest here. So the problem I also have with this channel and channels like it is they will make up a storyline. They will make up a comic panel. They will literally make up the thing that will upset them and then get upset about it. Is the Punisher going to be hunting down people who incorrectly identify somebody by the wrong pronouns? No. Because that would be probably not what the Punisher does. The Punisher tends to track down like drug dealers, like crime bosses, usually like involving organized crime and the people that killed his family. But this guy, this Ryan fucking idiot gets on here and makes up something that's not gonna happen, and then gets all upset about it. And then this guy gets on here and then reads his tweet and gets upset about it, even though it never happened. And then the quartering will get on the same topic, make up either use this example or make up another example of something that's not gonna happen. And then they're gonna get upset about it, and then they're gonna whine, and then they're gonna be like, oh, the woke takeover of my comics. Here's the problem, my dude. The Punisher, not your character. Comics, not your medium. Geek culture, not your culture. It's not yours. It's not anybody's. It's everybody's. And that's the hard part for them to understand.
Of what we're
they feel an ownership over, comics, comic adaptations.
Timeline we're in where you can't be excited.
If only you had some Pym particles to jump into a different.
Perfect casting. As
did I like slow this down, or is he just drunk? What's happening? This is on normal speed.
Jon Bernthal as Punisher, even with all of the momentum that everything, timeline we're in where you can't be excited because
you can't be excited.
Every single thing for a political agenda, everything, even with the perfect casting.
To which you would have to ask by what political agenda, and also if you've read comics, you would certainly have to ask, are you saying that politics don't play into comic books? Because if so, if that is his argument, if he is going to argue that comics aren't political, then he has never read a fucking comic book in his life, and he's only ever LARPed as a geek and a gamer.
As Jon Bernthal as Punisher, even with all of the momentum that they had.
Because keep in mind, they liked Jon Bernthal until he came out as like not a like cringy right winger.
While the name and the connection to the character and the previous performances we've seen is awesome, in reality, this to me seems like it's going to ultimately hurt the legacy of Jon Bernthal's Punisher. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
To which it won't. Let's be incredibly clear. When they put out Daredevil Born Again, it's going to do very well. Jon Bernthal is going to be very good in it. It's going to get good reviews until they have an episode where a gay shows up, and then, you know, people like this guy are going to like review bomb it and say that they're bringing politics into my comic books, even though at the end of the day he's the one going out of his way to, him and his crowd, to review bomb a show for daring to have something that he doesn't agree with politically in a comic book, which is a medium about fiction, about characters, which, you know, I know this is crazy for people to hear, but a lot of things are politics. Just the Punisher by himself being a vigilante is politics. It's commentating on the inability for the police to stop crime and positing a possible alternative to the existence of you know, any kind of uptick in crime. Like vigilantism is political. But let's take a look at I'm kind of curious what the part where they them said, you are punished, your social credit score has been docked 10 points, was one of the moments of all time, literally shaking. What is this person even talking about? The Netflix versions of Daredevil and Punisher were spot on and awesome. There's no way Disney will do as good of a job given their track record of the past few years. So keep in mind also, again, the only reason why they like the Netflix series is just because it's not Disney, because Disney is woke now. Even though Disney's a corporation, same as Netflix. They chase the money, that's all they really do. Let's be real, the Netflix era of these characters were the best we were ever going to get. Keep in mind, all these people fucking hated the Defenders. Pronouns for the Punisher? Okay, we are now well and truly in whatever the fuck that is. Yeah, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffland. Okay, that's not... Okay. Interesting that they use K's. Also, I can't help but be like, I can't help but kind of be like, where were their pronouns in any of this? There isn't even pronouns in the fucking in like the announcement tweet that they put up. Tucker embarrassed himself? What's more embarrassing than talking to no one? Talking into empty space. Hey, you're here, dumbass. So obviously I'm not talking to no one if you're here. There was a time not even 5 years ago that would have been incredible news, but this is just joins a lot of recent Marvel news that I see, and for a split second, eyes light up, and I remember what Marvel is nowadays, and then just get depressed. Oh man, carrying over the same amount of It's just pronoun Punisher. This would be more perfect. And it's like, the show isn't out, dude. Like, again, they like make up reasons to like get upset with media that they've already decided they're going to be upset about. Like, okay, definitely gonna make it as a contract. How this is. I know, that's what I'm saying. Can you go like, Aaron, Aaron, can you do me a favor? Can you go and pass this around? Let's get like, I'm thinking like 1,000 viewers. Do you have like a couple thousand people that you know that you can send this way? That'd be really great. I'd appreciate that. Anyway, all right. Yeah, okay, so this one specifically. Okay, so again, sticking with the general vibe of these types of channels and their really weird obsession with like Disney, and again, it all centers around wokeness and everything else, and they think all of it's ruining their video games and ruining their comic book movies and ruining their Lord of the Rings. Another one has been what I always tend to find is there's this very obvious misunderstanding and I guess appropriation of value for any kind of like piece of media. They don't seem to be capable of understanding like how box offices work, how budgets work, how movies are made. They just kind of, you know, they find like whatever spicy number that they think like sounds best to their narrative and kind of run with it. So I saw this one too, and it sounded ridiculous. And keep in mind, I have a certain amount of at least experience in this industry. So let's go take a look. This is apparently Ant-Man 3 getting crushed by Creed at the box office, which you might be saying to yourself, didn't that come out a couple weeks ago? To which, yes, it actually did. It's almost like it's the thing that was going to happen no matter what.
What's up, geeks and gamers? It's old.
I know, Ron, I'm full of charisma. What do you want from me? You're complimenting me. I wish I could compliment you back, but I sadly don't know who you are. I've never seen your content. But, keep on bringing the love, man. Keep on bringing the love.
And coming back with a box office breakdown for this past weekend. Which saw Creed 3, once again, where have we heard this story before, have a franchise record opening weekend.
I still need to see Creed 3, actually.
$58 million when the original projections had the film closer to around $40 million. So definitely overperforming.
Makes sense.
But will this film actually be able to do what Ant-Man was not able to do, which is hold and retain the audience from week 1 to week 2? This is the reason why opening week numbers is a similar reason as to why the Friday to Friday drop-off percentage is also a bit of fool's gold, because it doesn't always give you the complete story. It's the reason why also you should ignore things like Cinema Score, which is a complete another joke, very similar to, Rotten Tomatoes scores as well, because ultimately all that really matters is, okay, are people going to see this film, and are people going to see this film consistently, repeat viewings?
That's not true. That's actually not true at all. What you're looking for in terms of theater attendance is going to be one of two things, right? It's going to be one of two things: either consistent and follow through because usually any movie is going to be in theaters for about 4 to 5 weeks. It really depends on the release, and it also depends, this is a big part, it also really depends on the studio and what kind of deal that they've struck with any theater chain in terms of how long they have to keep the movies in theaters, right? A good example is this is Avatar. Avatar is still in theaters. That came out, if I remember correctly, in fucking February or some shit, the beginning of the month. But Avatar's still in fucking theaters, even though, and I can attest to this, nobody is fucking going to see Avatar. Overall, Avatar isn't pulling in numbers. I think they had a pretty decent week 2, but if I remember correctly, I could be slightly wrong on this. There wasn't really a lot of competition around when it came out. Ant-Man and the Wasp, on the other hand, came out in March, which is if you kind of pay attention to the major movie releases, March is actually a pretty busy month this month. We had Ant-Man and the Wasp, Cocaine Bear, which did a lot better than I would have expected, but hey, I got no problem with that. Creed 3, John Wick Chapter 4, and I think there's one more, but I'm forgetting it's at the end of the month. But March is pretty stacked right now, so you would expect to see a drop-off of really kind of any movie, any movie that gets released right before a 2 or 4 week, basically 1-2 punch of new hot releases. Yeah, they're gonna drop off. You also have to take into effect how much they're making on the opening weekend, because if everybody is rushing out to see it first weekend, then you don't really need them to show up week 2. You got all of the money that you're going to make already on week 1.
And all these other things that go into it that people honestly don't ever account for. And so they can have that headline all about the film being the highest grossing of the franchise. And indeed, even when you adjust for inflation, you do see numbers that are very much similar to that. At the end of the day, though, the big question is, will this film actually be able to hold up next weekend, whereas Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania was not. So we'll talk about that. Also, we'll talk about the global box office, as it has made over 100.
Also, keep in mind, a lot of people tend to use domestic numbers. Domestic numbers aren't really as relevant as they used to be. Even 10 years ago, domestic numbers would be the kind of would be a good marker of how well a movie is going to perform. These days, with the Chinese audience specifically, you've got a lot of movies that will do just pretty good at the domestic box office, but do fucking amazing in the global box office. A good example to this is Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim underperformed in the US, but did really, really well overseas and in China specifically.
$100 million already after its opening weekend. So at this point, especially after this opening, if the film has a decent drop-off, has a standard, little above 50% drop-off next weekend, then you could probably expect the film to break even based off of its production budget.
It's
but
probably
still,
going to
be
break
seen.
even.
And we will continue, of course, to do.
There's
our
no
full
way.
box office
I
break.
would be shocked if Creed 3 Creed 3 costing $100 million is an insane thought. Like, I don't know what the budget for Creed 3 is. I'll look it up right now, but
So before we go any further,
something tells me it's not going to
and wherever it is you're watching.
Oh, is he bringing it up actually? What do we got?
Let's go ahead and dive into those numbers though.
Gross per theater. Cool.
$$1 million at over 4,000 screens. Very good per theater ratio there at 14.
I'm glad they actually got somebody who
one thing I wanted to do though is to talk about this film a little bit more into more full and proper context. And so one of the things that I like to do is talk about what the actual ticket sales
75 million
how they compare to what we have seen in previous years. And
for the record, 75 million was the budget.
So just for a bit
for Creed 3.
Again, putting things on a bit of a kind of an even playing field. If you look at the opening weekend numbers for films like Creed 2015 and Creed 2 from 2018, and you adjust those numbers for inflation, you're looking at both of those films being around $37.9 and $43 million opening, respectively. So for this film to be at $58 million is pretty impressive. Those are definitely
that's
growing
growing
gains there.
That is
now, when
growing.
you go to the ticket sales, you also see something that is pretty interesting, right? You see an actual increase in ticket sales opening weekend between Creed 1 and Creed 2, and you also see, of course, this bigger increase of almost about 2.3 million tickets compared to those other films. Now, one thing that I do have to point out, and was very true also when I talked about this in regards to Ant-Man, even though we also saw very similar numbers as far as the overall number of tickets being sold being a lot more, and of course the big number that was ran with was that 106.
Wait, 1 second. I want to look at those really quick. I looked away for like 2 seconds. Okay. We're looking at 6 million tickets with 58 million in sales to, what was that number? It was like 11 million, I think. No, go back, damn you. Go back to the thing. Go back to the thing. Pick Ant-Man again. Damn bastard. Really? Did he only like switch to it? Okay, fine.
Sold for this movie probably are in IMAX or D-Box or whatever it is, the premium formatting is going to be. Because
never go to that
people
shit. It's
are much
waste.
more likely to spend their money on that kind of an experience. We've seen this kind of consistently, especially when it comes to bigger films. You see a lot fewer people going to see these films in regular 2D auditoriums, and a lot more people spending a more premium ticket because they want to.
Well, okay, let's be really, really clear about that. There's a reason for that, and it's mainly because if we're talking about, again, I'll use the example of Avatar 2. There was a concerted push by Disney to basically have more showings, if not an equal amount of showings, for the 3D shows. Like when we talk about audiences going to like kind of the premium IMAX stuff, there is a crowd for that, but usually it's not going to be the majority crowd. That's going to be like kind of your first day, your Thursday night showings people, along with if there are more of those 3D premium shows, then people don't really have a choice. If they want to see the movie, they got to go see it in 3D. But that also comes down to scheduling and how many of those 3D showings the studio has negotiated to have versus the 2D ones, that they know the 3D ones they'll get more money for.
Get the best experience they can. If they're going to spend money to go out of their house and to go watch a movie in theaters and not wait for it to come out on streaming, that is ultimately what you see happening. And so we do indeed have these numbers here, but
it's also people are going to movies less, which means
the first and second Creed
there are
films,
definitely people who are willing to pay a little extra because they're not going as often.
As is being stated here, because they did also likely have some premium screens that it got released in. Looking into the numbers as well, according to the numbers.com.
What the fuck? Where was that fucking Ant-Man number?
Creed 3, their money on that kind of an experience number that was.
Am I crazy? When did he click on Ant-Man?
100.
Thank you, Jesus.
Also, when I talked about this in regard to other films. Now, one thing that I do have to point out, and was very true also when I talked about this in regards to Ant-Man.
Yeah, like fucking Creed did like what? It was like 6,000. This is almost doubling that with like 106 mil just first weekend. So like, yeah, like
even though we also saw very similar numbers as far as the overall number of tickets being sold, being fewer people going to see these films to go watch a movie
to the numbers.com just to kind of give some further context here. When you look at the actual, rather, you look at the raw numbers here, when you use their adjusted for inflation calculator, something interesting happens, right? And one, you have this very marginal increase between Creed 1 and Creed 2 when you adjust for inflation, but then also you see that there is indeed an increase here. Now, what I find interesting especially is the fact that when you actually go to the first Friday to first Sunday numbers, what I find very intriguing by all of this is the fact that the numbers actually seem to show that Creed 2 and Creed 3 are a little bit closer. So I don't know if that is an error on their part. If I switch it over to the actuals, let me see if these actually match up. So it looks like
they were on Thanksgiving. Yeah, and Thanksgiving weekend's like a huge weekend for movies.
Error on their part because they're having Creed 2 as having made $56 million, whereas here it says it was 35. So,
I'm not actually sure. I do believe, I know sedition, but I don't actually think insurrection specifically. But let me look it up while this is going.
First weekend, it says
I don't
42,
think so, though.
Unadjusted for inflation for the first Creed film. So whether or not these are the numbers that are incorrect,
I'm not gonna say easy on them,
these
but
are the numbers that are not included in the first Thursday, which doesn't make any sense because the first Friday would include all of that.
Let's see.
Regardless, it does show though that the story, as far as this being the highest grossing opening weekend, the biggest opening weekend of the franchise, I think there's definitely some question marks left.
To answer your question, the looks like obstruction of electoral college vote count. So like seems like obstruction of vote counting, stuff like that. So it's like probably voting crimes in North Carolina. You have to also figure that they also probably pled down to lighter sentences, which might have gotten them out of the insurrection charges. Also, insurrections, like, I think a little bit harder to like prove in a court of law, mainly because it seems like a lot of the people, again, a lot of the people they went after were pretty small time, so there also could be that angle. So why the propaganda using insurrection? Most likely because insurrection, so you could describe what they were engaging in as like attempted insurrection, in the sense that like what we colloquially term as insurrection, but legally there's like a it's like when you say somebody like murdered somebody and then you go through the actual case law of it, or you go through like the court processes, and like getting a murder one charge is a much higher ask in terms of the preponderance of evidence, but I'm not 100% sure of what the reasoning was behind why they didn't bring specifically insurrection charges. It's also like the laws for insurrection are probably written in a lot more of a narrow framework.
Either question marks for the numbers.com and how they've broken down their numbers, or other things. So again, I'm just going based off of what was here in the chart, but if it's actually these numbers, then you start to realize, Creed 3 actually probably isn't highest grossing. But
but if they pled down, then
over at OMB Reviews,
or if they struck a deal, is what I'm saying, is what I mean.
And I'll try have had some more research done on the differences between those.
I hate when my computer does that.
Films that have come out, obviously Creed at the top of the list. Ant-Man Quantumania is still in the top 3 films, however, not by all that much. As you can see, week 1 to week 2,
bruh, it's like second place. They made it like
drop was 70%. Week 2 to week 3, 61%. This film is dropping like a light. The film actually was very close to losing to Cocaine Bear's second weekend, which made another $11 million, only dropping 53%. So, yeah, not a very good look for a Marvel film this far out. I mean,
this is what I wanted to kind of engage with. So this is one of those things where, like, depending on how you want to frame like the numbers and the way that these guys, I notice they tend to kind of fall apart. Not fall apart so much as it, like, they tend to editorialize a lot on like whenever they want to bring up like there was like this drop on like its third weekend, to which it's like, yeah, that's going to happen. The movie already made a lot of its money overseas. It's already made all of its budget back. It made most, like, I think half of its budget on the first weekend or so. But like, again, these are like, and I mention this because the Quantumania is set to lose money for Marvel that they put in the fucking title, which is like obviously untrue. Like, this guy knows it, the person producing it knows it, that none of these movies lose money, but they need to continually forward the narrative that the Marvel iteration of, or the Disney iteration of Marvel, which is to say the woke iteration of Marvel, is either being rejected by audiences, it's not, or it's flailing in terms of like money making, it's not. Like, at the end of the day, like, I personally find this irritating because, like, as somebody who works in this industry, and I've like worked in the theater industry for a while, like, these are the numbers you expect. We see this with almost every Marvel release. It has a very large opening, and okay, like, following week, and usually, unless something big and new comes out that's got a lot of momentum, it's probably gonna stay there. But if something else comes out, everybody already saw it first week. And I find it always like just really annoying because it's always this like, oh, they're failing. It's like, no, dude, it's not. Like, I get it. You don't like more progressive, values in your comic book movies, but I'm sorry, audiences aren't rejecting this stuff.
I mean, just only 3 weeks out from its initial release, already getting close to, by next weekend, being in the single digits.
I've seen many protests at the state capitol specific to votes.
I would not be surprised if the daily numbers for the week start to become a...
Which capitals are you speaking of? I haven't seen any here in Denver, but that's just me. Red versus blue. I mean, look, we're all Americans, but there are some people who I think are a bit off the reservation, in my opinion.
A really bad story, and I'll do a full
You have a nice night.
Comparing Ant-Man to the other Ant-Man films and how those daily numbers
Jesus Revolution.
Because, yeah, let's just say,
what is that?
The numbers here indicate this could be the lowest grossing film of the entire Ant-Man franchise. You add to that the fact that tickets cost a lot more today, and you're seeing so many fewer people going to see this film versus not only the other Ant-Man films, but also kind of...
Whoa. Let's keep in mind the other two Ant-Man movies, one of them was leading into Endgame, the other one was capping off Phase 2. Let's keep that in mind. Let's take it easy there, bud. You're comparing a lot of things. That you're also comparing eras of like movie-going audiences that are very different.
Bad sign for the MCU going forward as well.
It's
Cocaine
not.
Bear is hanging around 53% drop. So
I still need to see it. I've heard Cocaine Bear is really good too.
Either heard a lot of mixed things about the film. $11 million for that movie.
Yeah, like fucking Demon Slayer is not going to hold in this 4th spot past this weekend. It will drop like a fucking lead brick after this week. But that doesn't mean Demon Slayer does poorly or that it's failing or literally anything else. It just means that everyone who was going to go see it went to go see it the first weekend. Like
Demon Slayer, which is a new release coming out to $10 million, so pretty impressive. Especially,
yeah, that's really fucking good.
Per theater ratio there. This film, of course, having been released in other areas, and again, I know a lot of people
also
are pretty fans of Demon Slayer and of the anime. Jesus Revolution also made the top 5 this week with $8.6 million, another 46% drop. Only after 2 weeks of release, they actually added screens to it, so clearly it is doing pretty well. And I can make some projections when it comes to that movie, and also a couple.
Anyway, okay, so that's the only point I really wanted to make. I wanted him to get to like this chart, but my point being is like, I always see these guys and they always irritate the fuck out of me because they come on there and they always try to do like it's like failing, the movies are doing poorly all of a sudden, and they're simply not. And it comes down to them trying to manifest this like fucking astroturf, are people like done with the woke nonsense of the Marvel movies and the Disney, and it's like, no, none of that's happening. These movies are making a shit ton of money. Audiences have generally been pretty receptive. If you actually take a look, the Rotten Tomatoes score for audiences are actually pretty high, I think, compared to the critics score. But again, that's like, which one of those scores you care about is usually pretty subjective, and most people tend to, if they like the movie, they'll just take whoever gives it the higher score, and if they don't like the movie, they'll end up taking the side of the negative score. So like it's all like, you get to kind of choose your path on that one. But yeah, that it's just always one of those things that bugs the shit out of me, since like I work at movie theaters, and like this is a trend we've always seen, and a trend that has been perfectly fine. These movies are gonna keep coming out, and quite frankly, they do well enough and they perform really well that first weekend that it's justified them to keep making them. Like, the train is not slowing down as much as some people wish it was. But either way, okay. So I guess we should get back to our normal politics. Okay, so Ben Shapiro is a man. He looks very similar to my cousin. I basically am staring at my cousin whenever I watch a Ben Shapiro video. Maybe that's why I'm a little bit more charitable. I feel a kinship to Ben Shapiro that I don't feel with other hosts of right-wing conservative news. But apparently he has proof. He says, that AOC is super corrupt. So, being that I am a leftist, I am a socialist, I want to know, how exactly is AOC corrupt? Ben Shapiro is going to unblind me from my love for AOC and show me the truth. So let's learn together. Let's grow together.
So I've been telling you folks that
Christ above. That felt really loud to me. Okay. It's probably because it's on my headphones all the way up.
AOC is not just a democratic socialist who is terrible in all of her views and obnoxious.
Amazing.
Also, she's incredibly corrupt, and now we have the proof. AOC begged to go to the exclusive Met Gala, even if it meant breaking the rules. According to the New York Post's columnist,
I hope that's not. I really hope that's not it. Ben, come on.
AOC really wanted to attend the September 2021 Met Ball, a charity event for its Costume Institute, yes, but also the world's #1 social event for the rich, famous, and beautiful. About the $35,000 tickets for 2 people would cost nearly 6 figures. Members of Congress can attend nonprofit events, but
so these are so I want to order these chocolates, but they're on fucking pre-order. I don't even know when I'm gonna get them.
That doesn't
I'm not waiting months for
all
chocolate.
Of Congress, and this isn't AOC's district. So she decided to trade off her elected position in order to get the tickets. She snagged 2 free tickets by cozying up to Vogue's Anna Wintour, who runs this show for the Met. AOC's written invitation specifically informed her she and her boyfriend were guests of Vogue. There's one problem. Members of Congress can't take near 7-figure gifts from companies that employ lobbyists. Vogue is part of a sprawling media firm including the firm that owns a big piece of Spectrum.
Wait, Ben, is this the best you've got? Is this... So keep in mind, there is currently in the Senate, Joe Manchin takes direct money from oil lobbies. Like, all of these guys in Washington do not take like, hey, we'll let you come to our event or whatever. They take lobbyist money. They take campaign donations. This come on, Ben.
Our highly regulated internet provider.
Ben.
AOC's anti-corruption lawyer even warned her staff, quote, the Congresswoman could accept an invitation from the Met, but not from Vogue.
Cool.
Well, that was the morning after, because a Vogue staffer informed AOC's office the day after the ball. Hope the Congresswoman had a great time last night. Given that she was a guest of Vogue, we were planning to say she was a guest of Anna Wintour's. Wanted to check with you. Well, it turns out that not only did she do her best to try to go to this thing illegally, it also turns out
illegally
that she took a bunch of favors that are political favors.
Ben Shapiro will be like, you went to the Met illegally, and then be like, January 6th riot. What do you mean? There weren't laws broken.
AOC's lawyer assured congressional ethics officials just after the gala that the Congresswoman is paying personally for all the other benefits, including the rental value of her dress, handbag and accessories, shoes, hair and makeup, transportation, and hotel room for staging.
Cool.
But the problem is that she didn't have the money for that. So what did they do? Well, she just didn't pay them. They called up some of the service providers for campaign, and they talked down a $1,300 dress down to $300. And then they asked people to provide these things for free to her husband. Apparently, she did not pay her.
Wait. Did these people did these people agree to these terms? Were they like, sure, you're like an incredibly popular member of Congress. We'll let you wear my clothes and shit for free. That's fine with us. Get us some publicity. Like, yeah.
Makeup artist for 6 months.
That's
after the ethics investigation started. It was like $344 by the way.
Wow,
Her hair.
$344.
A hairstyles rep emailed AOC staff, it would look terrible if we had to file a complaint with the New York Department of Labor against AOC. Transportation cost $586. It wasn't until May 2022, 8 months after the gala, that AOC reimbursed Condé Nast for her $180 share. Why she even split the bill is beyond us because, again, everybody was there because of her. She didn't reimburse the designer their hotel bill, which was a $4,600 hotel bill, until May 2022. She didn't reimburse her boyfriend's shoes and bow tie until May 2022. She didn't reimburse the car service from Carlisle to the museum until May. The only person paid was the manicurist. So, AOC, she is just a wonderful, wonderful person. Again, these are the people the Democrats have chosen to feature. Maybe this is one reason why Joe Manchin from West Virginia, who is running a very competitive Senate race now.
Wait. Joe Manchin is like incredibly directly corrupt. Like he self-deals constantly. These are not comparable things.
Maybe that's one reason why he's like, I'm not necessarily going to endorse the Democrats at this point. That's a little awkward for me. Here was Joe Manchin over the weekend.
Wait, Ben, you're using a corrupt person to advocate against corruption? Okay, no, I'm not watching this. This is fucking stupid. This is actually dumber than I would have ever expected. And again, I want to reinforce this. There was nothing there. Like understand, like the ethics board's going to be like, hey, you weren't supposed to go to this thing as a guest to as from like a guest of Vogue. To which case she's going to be like, oh shit. Well, okay, maybe. Like, we have people who are, like, taking lobbyist money every single day? Taking super PAC money every single day? What we're describing, what they're describing is honestly rather mild ethic breakages. Meanwhile, you have, like, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who gets on here, wants to carry her gun into Congress, wants to, takes all the, actually, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm fairly certain Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't actually take super PAC money. I could be wrong about that. I know Gates doesn't. But even so, I'm like, do you know how many fucking Congress people break, oh, they put a little bend in like an ethics rule. Like, they fucking break that shit like Batman over their back. Like, hundreds of them. So no, if you're asking me if I actually give a shit about this small fry bullshit, no, I do not give a fuck. She wanted to go to the Met. There's like rules against it. Who gives a shit? I don't care about the Met. I don't I just don't care. Who gives a fuck? She wore a dress. It also, by the way, advocated for a political policy that I am in favor of. So guess what? I don't care. Whatever. You can say whatever you want. I don't personally care. So anyway, all right. So anyway, let's just move right on to the much more despicable human being we have for today, which is Matt Walsh. Where's the little thingy that gets me to the thing? There it is. Okay. So Matt Walsh, bring me back for a minute. Matt Walsh really, really fucking hates trans people. Like a seething hatred for a community of people who just kind of exists. They, they buy groceries, they watch movies, they make TikToks, I guess. They scroll Instagram, a group of people who live rather normal lives, rather benign normal lives, unless you're Matt Walsh and you are incredibly concerned with everybody else. Now, Matt Walsh has been on this campaign for, the better part of like 2 years, successfully losing the midterms for the Republican Party. Thanks for that, Matt. But in the process, he has only doubled, tripled, and quadrupled down harder and harder on his what's the word I'm looking for? His stances in his hatred, his political opposition to the existence of trans people and their inclusion into our society. To which I guess he went on his platform, and I believe he also made a tweet about this, if I can find it really quickly. Let me see. You know what? He summarized. I think he'll probably bring up the tweet. So let's just jump into it, shall we? I just kind of want to get a vibe check here.
Well, I take comfort in the fact that if on any given day I am not personally being accused of launching a genocidal campaign against marginalized people, then someone else at the Daily Wire certainly is. So on Saturday, it was, of course, Michael Knowles.
Michael Knowles tagged him to do
delivering a speech at CPAC that landed him in hot water with the media. But as far as the media is concerned, of course, he didn't give a speech at all. He only uttered one single phrase, and all the rest of the context,
which was like,
everything else
I fucking hate
was
trans people.
Irrelevant noise. As they breathlessly and hysterically reported, Knowles called for the eradication of transgenderism. Actually, that's not what they reported. They reported that he called for the eradication of transgender people. According to the headlines in various outlets and the panicked social media posts of countless trans activists and other leftists, he had explicitly advocated for the mass execution of the transgender community itself. It was a mass...
Keep in mind, Michael Knowles specifically said we need to eliminate transgenderism, which the question becomes, how does one do that exactly without the extermination of that group? I would really love for somebody to explain that to me. You know, how you rid the world of transgenderism while not genociding the people while not genociding the people in question. It's curious to say the least.
Mask-off moment, they declared. The right was finally revealing its true intentions. They're setting up camps as we speak. The extermination is about to begin. And they got all of that from this statement. Watch.
There can be no middle way in dealing with transgenderism. It is all or nothing. If transgenderism is true, if men really can become women, then it's true for everybody of all...
Crazy idea. It is. The same way men can wear dresses and have long hair. Again, keep in mind, this is... I talked about this with a viewer, with a YouTube viewer yesterday afternoon. The understanding that sex and gender are two different things is fundamental to an understanding of this debate. Because Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro, conservatives, Republicans in general, actually, that's not true. Republican voters tend to be pretty blasé on the trans issue. It's really not something that, shockingly, they're not all that interested in. But specifically, these right-wing ideologues actively need to obfuscate, ignore, or pretend that the concepts of sex and the concepts of gender are synonyms, are the exact same thing, when they're not. If they were, we'd have one word. But we don't. We have one to describe the social role and one to describe the biological alignment of somebody, the biological assignment of somebody. One certainly informs the other, but in no way is your sex determinative of your gender. In no way does you having a penis mean that you're going to like football, UFC, beer, and fucking trucks and American flags. Like, these things aren't determinative. So keep that in mind.
Ages. If transgenderism is false, as it is, if men really can't become women, as they cannot, then it's false for everybody too. And if it's false, then we should not indulge it, especially since that indulgence requires taking away the rights and customs of so many people. If it is false, then for the good of society, and especially for the good of the poor people who have fallen prey to this confusion, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology.
Transgenderism. Now, mind you, he says ideology, right? I'm assuming his defense will be somewhere along the lines of, I said we need to get rid of the ideology. To which, at the end of the day, you would have to think that being transgender is an ideology to be debated and not an identity to be either, accepted or unaccepted into your society. But so when you say we need to eliminate transgenderism and the ideology, what you're saying is we need to eliminate transgender people. They need to be, what's the word? Slowly, marched out of this society and maybe, into a camp or something.
At every level.
So they lied. It's no surprise that they lied. The media quite often lies. And as I've warned you many times, trans activists in particular lie about literally everything
like me.
All the time. They lie to themselves,
I'm not an activist,
and about themselves, and about everything else. So they'll certainly lie and say that Michael Knowles pushed for a holocaust of trans people, when in fact...
You're right. He did not say we need a holocaust. He just said that we need to eliminate transgenderism. Again, like, this is all semantics. This is like, he didn't say those exact words, so it's like, yeah, no shit. Like, yeah, you guys aren't at the point of just saying, fucking, just fucking round them up. Even though Matt Walsh has already expressed in like a very thinly veiled way that he would love to round up the supporters of trans people and escort them to somewhere off the premises.
He called for the defeat of an ideology, an idea. If he was saying that he wanted to work for the eradication of malaria, that would not mean that he was murdering people with malaria. In fact, the only reason that...
No, he would just be murdering malaria, the disease, eliminating it from existence. You fucking idiot.
You would want to eradicate malaria is because you feel compassion towards the people with malaria. Okay, you wouldn't, if you didn't care about those people, then you say, well, let's let them die of malaria. In the same way, a person who truly loves those who've fallen into transgenderism,
there's truly no love. There's truly no hate like Christian love.
For the sake of society at large. But is a term like eradicate over the top? Does it have a needless...
Oh, this is a fun one. What is it? Penguin. How many genders do you believe there are? How many do I believe there are? No, I don't know. Somewhere. I don't really think there's a limit on the amount of genders that you can technically have. They're socially constructed and usually socially what the fuck is the word? Accommodated.
Militant tone. No, definitely not. The tone may be militant, but not needlessly so. We are, after all, in a war.
Ah, yes. In a war. Life is war.
We are in a war.
This is why. This is also why I like. This is why also why Matt Walsh is a fascist, because he buys into this life is war, war is life, everything is a battlefield. You must be ready to die for this cause. Like it's fascist. It's the exact same shit that Hitler and the Nazis and Goebbels and all the rest would all be pushing for. It's the exact same type of language that they use to stoke violence, stoke fear, stoke anxiety in that population to push them to the point of accepting the Holocaust.
Plain and simple. We are fighting to eradicate the ideological equivalent of a parasitic infestation. And the parasite, gender ideology, seeks to not only brainwash a generation of children, not only degrade and appropriate womanhood, but also, and manhood, by the way, but also, and most fundamentally...
Gotta slip that in. Gotta remember that there are trans men out there.
It seeks to eat away at truth itself, or if it cannot devour the truth...
Did you also notice that they're never upset about trans men?
To recognize the truth for what it is.
There's a reason for that.
Eradication of gender
because they can't really stoke fear against trans men.
Is the only option.
Trans men, to them, are weak.
There's no living side by side with it. There's no finding common ground. The gender ideologue wants to destroy your culture and your children. You will either rise up again.
What drugs you have to take to believe the... I know, right? Matt's gotta be on some crazy shit. There is no possible way that Matt Walsh could be doing any of this sober. He's either incredibly drunk or like on very strong drugs. I would have to agree with you on that.
Against it or lose everything to it. I mean, how do you compromise with someone who wants to sterilize and castrate children? Do you agree to only sexually mutilate half of the kids? Is that the compromise?
Sexually mutilate?
Or how do you compromise with someone who wants
none
to
of this means anything, because
biology?
sexually mutilate, like, he's not talking about anything specific. He's just ascribing sexual and mutilate to surgery, which kids have them all the time. It's like the same way adults have surgeries, kids have surgeries. It's rather normal.
Textbooks to teach students that men can get pregnant. What is the compromise position between men can get pregnant and men cannot get pregnant? Okay, when it comes to what we're going to...
What do you mean, what's the compromise position? They either can or they can't.
What idea is going to be promoted by society? Between those two options, what's the middle ground?
Matt, first of all, Matthew, let us please stop pretending that you are in a compromise or anywhere near a middle ground position. Matt Walsh, my friend, my brother in Christ, you are a fascist extremist. I don't know how to like say it any clearer. You're not the average man. You're not the normal person. You, like Michael Knowles, are a fucking freak who can't let people live their lives in a way that you deem unacceptable because you are small. Like at the end of the day, like for all of the like factual misinterpretations that Matt constantly gets on here, and all of the political rhetoric that he uses to lie to his audience, to gin them up, to activate them in a violent manner, for all of these things, I've already like said all that I can say about, in terms of like how Matt is consistently wrong about the differences between sex and gender, how Matt is unable to actually substantiate any of this sexual part of mutilation or really sexual part of anything. It's all just kind of his interpretation of people going about their lives doing X, Y, or Z. Like, there's not really, like, in terms of like countering Matt Walsh, like there's only so much I can really say, and I don't often speak on just what I think of Matt Walsh from like a human level, to which, yeah, he's a small, insular, busybody type of guy. He's the annoying neighbor who never stops bothering you about your bushes, your hedges, your grass, your everything else. Like, for fuck's sake, dude, you've got a family, allegedly. Could you get a life and stop bothering people? But sadly, there once was a time. There once was a time where like people just being like, get a life, you have your own family, have your own weird fucking rules in your family. I got no problem with that. You have all the right in the world. But like, leave the rest of us normal, regular ass Americans alone. There was a time when that was the popular and effective counter. But unfortunately, we live in a time now of deep political polarization where conservatives like, some of the people who have shown up in chat here seem to feel the need to rush in and try to defend Matt Walsh and try to defend their indefensible opinions and indefensible political prescriptions for any of this stuff. Somebody might ask, like, oh, how many genders can there be? I don't know. There's like an almost infinite amount of different variations of chocolate that you can have. Like, the amount of genders is determined by the society and what the society is able to accommodate. There are no genders out in nature, my friends. They are socially constructed. Like, I don't know how many times this has to be said. Apparently one more time.
That's why this is a zero-sum contest. Either we destroy gender ideology, eradicate it from public life,
destroy the concept of gender,
dance around its ashes.
Oh, lovely.
Or it does the same to us and to our children. That's the point. But there's another point too, and this is something that I want to say specifically to the trans activists.
Ooh, hit me
who
with
are
it.
Now crying and panicking.
Nobody's crying.
Hysterically ranting about imaginary genocides. I say they're doing that now. They didn't just start doing it now. They've been doing it all along. This is all they ever do.
What do you think Matt Walsh is going to say when the genocides actually start?
To this part.
Do you think Matt Walsh is going to deny the genocide's happening, or do you think Matt Walsh is going to say that it's necessary? I think the latter. I think Matt Walsh is open enough of a monster to advocate for the genocide of trans people. Somebody like Ben Shapiro, I feel like Ben Shapiro is just gonna pretend it's not happening. Ben Shapiro strikes me more as somebody who would like to obfuscate from the bad things that are happening. But Matt Walsh, absolutely, certainly, I think is capable of just going out there and being like, nope, we need to kill the trans people. And he's already said it, social contagion, all the rest of this stuff. We need to eliminate transgenderism. And how does one do that? Well, make sure trans people can't exist.
Please always remember this. You started it.
Oh yes, I heard about this.
So I
it's
see
always
you on social
defense.
media and on the news.
When it was the Nazis, it was the Jews.
Crying your crocodile tears and claiming that you're being set upon by fascist right-wingers who won't let you just live your lives in peace.
Yep.
What do we ever do to you, you cry? Why are you so angry at us?
There was a time when that was the very easy way to counter these people politically.
Well, let me answer that question. You see, the rest of us were living our lives.
Minority.
We were minding our own business.
You never have.
You came along and demanded that we abandon everything we know about fundamental physical reality for your sake. That's what you did.
So much cope.
You claim the right to walk into whatever bathroom you want, whatever locker room.
Nope, incorrect. That's incorrect. No trans person is like, I would like to use the women's restroom when I want to use the women's restroom, and the men's restroom when I want to use the men's restroom. They've already said the trans community is pretty, pretty consistent on this, in which they would like to use the bathroom in which they identify. For some people, that's the man's bathroom. For some people, that's the women's bathroom. Like, it's not, I get to go in whatever bathroom. That's, again, just, do I need to say it's a lie? Do I need to say he's lying? Does anybody need me to actually say that Matt Walsh is lying? Being disingenuous? Being dishonest? I don't think I need to say that.
Whatever sports team. Nobody else has ever had that right. Nobody else has ever had that right to just do whatever they want, go anywhere they want. But you wanted it.
Yes.
You came after our children, seeking to suck them into your suicide cult, just to make yourselves feel better.
Suicide cult. Keep in mind the reason why trans people commit a disproportionate amount of suicide is guys like this. Keep that in mind. It's guys like this. It's people, it's parents like this.
Structure human society to make it affirming to you personally. You wanted to force the whole world.
Aren't Christians always complaining that we don't put Jesus in like school and stuff?
You tried to control how we speak. Even
They're
when
like,
you're not in the
they're
room,
like, hey,
your ego
you
is
need
so
to
out of control that you even try
need to
take
put
possession
Jesus
of parts of
in
the
all
English
this stuff because I believe in
like
Jesus.
You can own them as a pet. You waved that hideous, ridiculous flag in our face and wouldn't stop waving it. You demanded not just tolerance, but celebration. You did all of that. That was you. And now you cry victim because some of us have simply answered no? You made demands. Many people surrendered to those demands immediately, but some of us, a few of us, are refusing. And that makes you what, a victim? You bullied most people into submission right away, but now you want to compare yourselves to Jews in the Holocaust because a few of us can't be controlled so easily? Well, that is just a testament to your boundless narcissism. It didn't have to be this way. If you were really interested in privacy, if you really simply wanted the ability to live your life as you wished, then you could have had that. So you could have had that. If you had just said, well, I'm going to live as though I'm the opposite sex, and I'm going to tell everyone that I'm the opposite sex, and I'm going to change my name and how I dress, and I'm going to do all of this because it's what I want to do and it's how I want to live. Well, if you had just said that, you could have done that. I personally still would not have agreed with your lifestyle, and I personally would not have gone along with the charade, and I would not have affirmed the lie. I would not have. But society generally would have left you alone, as you claim you want. And I know that because that was already the experience of the very small minority of trans-identified people in this country up until the last decade or so. Prior to this past decade, this tiny group of people basically lived the lifestyle they wanted to live, and there wasn't much attempt to stop them from doing so. We didn't really talk about it. It wasn't discussed. It was very much on the fringes. But that wasn't good enough for you. In your vanity, you couldn't be satisfied merely with the ability to live how you want. You demanded the celebration. You needed not just the ability to practice your lifestyle, but you needed a parade following behind you and cheering you on the whole time. And you needed affirmation. My God, your obsessive, unquenchable need for affirmation. Have you noticed that nobody else walks around every day demanding that the entire world affirm them every second? No one ever did that. No one has lived their life that way, walking around looking for affirmation. None of the rest of us even.
I'm just clicking through this just because it really rings clear when we talk about Matt Walsh, where we can really, like, clear as clear can be. We can see in Matt Walsh the fascist. We can see in Matt Walsh a more modern take on fascism. Like it is astounding to me how much of his rhetoric, how much of his being seems to be almost cut from the pages of Echo's essay on fascism. And then there's this guy, he just all of it. He just all of it, all at once, all the time.
Think about that. The idea that you're going to walk out your door and you need to be affirmed by people. Affirmed? How is that anyone's job to affirm you? You decided to do that.
Notice he says people when actually all we're talking about is usually laws, adding like laws on the book to make sure that they can't be discriminated against in terms of jobs, social spaces, you know. That's the
you can just
people
believe whatever
he's
you believed about yourself. Nobody can stop you from having a belief about yourself. You wanted the rest of us to believe it too. You wanted to force us to believe it. You wanted society to be restructured around your self-perceptions, and you wanted our children.
What's funny is we restructure society all the fucking time.
Into your confusion, baptize them into it, so that the confusion you foster.
Remember that part where it said newspeak?
The confusion you harbor in your own minds. You pretended that you wanted freedom, but you had that. You wanted more. Okay, there were.
You know what's funny? He's actually right. Trans people generally have been existing within our society here in the United States for quite a while, actually. While they haven't had the most visible, affirmation of their rights and the most visible place in our society, trans people generally have been a part of this society for quite a long time now. It's only in the last, 5 or so years that conservatives like Matt Walsh, fascists, let me correct myself, that fascists like Matt Walsh decided to seize upon a marginalized group, a rather small segment of our society, seize upon their perceived weakness, their perceived smallness in terms of political influence, and begin to target them and target people around them in an effort to push their political agenda, in a way to not just attack trans people, but attack Democrats, attack liberals, attack centrists, attack progressives, attack socialists, communists, all of these people. What trans people are to fascists like Matt Walsh is the banner, the prime target to attack everybody else over. And it's the funny thing is like, you want to know what's amazing about Matt Walsh? He already failed. The midterms already happened. They made the midterms about this issue and it lost. But do you notice he isn't giving up? Do you notice that he is only doubled down, only tripled down now? Michael Knowles going to CPAC saying we need to exterminate need to eradicate transgenderism. Matt now coming on here to make his Goebbels style speech of, you did this to us. We are now fighting for the defense of ourselves. We are the put upon people. This is what we mean when we say Matt Walsh is a fascist. And quite frankly, I don't think he's very far off from just accepting that label. It's a rather, in the mind of a fascist, he is ready to take up the label that he believes is like as accurate as can be and as strong as can be. Like, to Matt Walsh, you can imagine that he's probably thinking, they keep calling me a fascist? Fine. I'll accept that. I am a fascist. I am I am transphobic. I am homophobic. All of these things. Eventually, Matt is going to get to the point where he no longer is going to feel the need to play around the edges, to say everything but exactly what he is. And that moment is going to be interesting, because either one of two things are going to happen. His platform is going to get nuked, or YouTube will allow it. Now, obviously, he can run to the Daily Wire's website all he wants. And the real question will be if Daily Wire keeps him after a point. Because keep in mind, we have to remember, Matt Walsh is not a small YouTuber. He's got 2.14 million subscribers that this video gets sent out to every day. This video alone, this is like the full hour. This got 101,000 views in 8 hours. But if I go to his YouTube page, let's take a look. We've got, I don't know if this is the exact same video, but let's take a look. 103, 96. Oh, here we go. The TikTok one against Dylan Mulvaney, almost 500,000. This video, the video that, let's see. So far, it's been 5 hours. This has 22,000 views. This is going to go up. 84 for some, I don't even, oh, this is the anti-dog shit. But yeah, 307,000 on a Katy Perry video. 160 on this Girl Bosses one. Like, this guy gets consistent views, and that I can't take away from him. But keep in mind, he's not a small figure, and he's going to get too big for his britches eventually. The question will be what the platforms end up doing with him after that point. Will Elon allow him to keep his platform? Will keep his is he going to be allowed to keep his Twitter account? Probably not, but it's also Elon, so he might be okay with letting a open fascist and homophobe, transphobe onto his platform, because I'm sure Elon will come up with some kind of dumb fuck excuse for leaving him on the platform. There
were no laws. There were no laws saying that if you're a man and you want to put on a dress and walk around, it's like no one was going to put you in jail for that.
Fun fact, that's untrue. I'm glad he said that, because that is actually untrue. Let's man, Matt, it's so fucking crazy, man. It's like you say stuff and then I get to go and be like, let's see, law against wearing, oh no, what is it? It's like women's wearing women's clothing. Men, let's take a look. All right, here we go. A timeline, stop it, go away, of anti-cross-dress laws in the United States. In Columbus, Ohio, where one of the earliest ordinances was instituted, an 1848 law forbade a person from appearing in public, quote, in a dress not belonging to his or her sex. In the decades that followed, more than 40 U.S. cities created similar laws limiting the clothing people were allowed to wear in public. Where's some, like, let's see. Yeah, I think, like, yeah. Court found law unconstitutional, degrading, oppressive, and inhumane, da-da-da-da. Yeah, like, this is not a, I thought this was a timeline, you losers. What the fuck? You said timeline, and yet there wasn't a timeline. Is it illegal? Okay. I wonder if somebody in Quora answered with, like, of course it's legal. New York State, no. I want like the list of them. By state, no. Is there a law against men dressing? Not anymore. Where is it? Prohibition of cross-dressing. Is this it? Is this what I want? I think this is what I want. Let's see. I don't care. Oh my God, what the fuck am I reading? Okay, this is what? This is the Torah? Okay, we're moving on. Point is, yes, there were laws against that. What is this over here? I'm confused. What is this? Oh, it's that stupid group thing. Get this out of here. I hate groups. I don't know why they have a group thing. That's not true though. Is my point.
You had the freedom. But you wanted a lot more than that. You wanted to reshape our entire culture in your image. You didn't just
Imagine
want
getting
your
this
rights.
mad because
You
somebody
wanted
was
us
like,
to participate
actually, I
in
use
it
they
with
pronouns.
you. That's what this comes down to. You are demanding.
You
our
wanted us to live with
participation.
you.
And what we are saying to you, some of us, is no.
A very small
And you get
percentage, keep that in
through
mind.
your heads. We are allowed to say no.
No, you're not.
We are not going to participate.
Your consent is not applicable in this situation.
You are the mouse who wanted a cookie, and you were given the cookie, and you ate it, but then you wanted to eat everything else in the house too.
This is like such a bad analogy. This makes no fucking sense.
Some people object, finally object, and you break down in tears like a child who has to leave the playground. You push too far, way too far.
Mm.
And now this is the pushback. In summary, you wanted this fight. You
Yes.
asked for
the trans people
demanded
all over the U.S. were like,
and now you have it.
Bring it. Let's go.
Now you have it.
Let's go, fascists.
Whether you like it or not. Now let's get to our 5 headlines.
Did you notice how none of these things were actually any group starting anything? Like, he said that they started this, but nothing he said was like there was a law passed that like forced anybody to do anything. It was simply by their existence and desire to be included in our society. That was the crime. That in lies the crime that Matt Walsh describes. The utter existence of trans people within American society is an affront to Matt Walsh. And it is why he is a fascist, and it is why he's a fucking monster. Jesus Christ. Okay, we're gonna go on a break while I reset. Just because also that I don't really know what to say when sometimes, you know, I appreciate Matt Walsh's honesty, but sometimes it's genuinely gross. A disgusting human being. Either way, let's go on break. We'll come back, and then we got like a school book thing people are bitching about, so we'll go take a look at that next. Okay, that was a lot. The more I think about like that entire video, I can't help but just be, you know, Matt doesn't shock me a lot, but like that was a lot. That was a lot. That was an admission of.
Should we play this video?
Stop it. Of a lot. Like, I just don't know. I don't know what to say, guys. Like, we can only hope. And luckily, I think it's rather evident in the polling that Matt Walsh in this entire campaign isn't nearly as popular as he wishes it was. And we need to hope that it stays that way. I'm not sure if it will, but, you know, we can only hope that the midterms are a litmus test, are a indication of how disinterested the actual Republican voter base is in all the anti-trans stuff. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Anyway, okay, so kind of touching on a bit of the same topic here. Tim Pool and his band of merry idiots are also kind of on the war front. Kind of a different, you know, if Matt Walsh is kind of fighting on the Western front, right? Then, you know, Tim Pool's out here kind of fighting on like, you know, maybe the Pacific front to a degree, one could say, because they've taken the track of focusing on schools, on teachers, on libraries, on, you know, the kids, right? Like they've taken a very specific track of making it about libraries and about, you know, and about teachers and stuff. It's the same way, like, you know, it's the same group that like Libs of TikTok's really interested in. But apparently they found that in a library there was a book that was inappropriate for children. So let's go see. I'm kind of curious. Let's go see what this you know, horrific book is. You know, let's go see what we're letting our children read.
Theo, is it really graphic?
There's one F-bomb, I will warn you.
No, I don't mind that. Just letting everybody know.
Yeah.
You showing pictures or anything?
No pictures, no.
Graphic.
Right, just a warning if you
Somebody
have kids
says
in the
the
room or something.
F-bomb?
I was in the library, and
1 second. An 11-year-old sixth grader reads a sexually explicit book, quote, Nick and Charlie. That should be a night. Okay, whatever. In front of a school board in Maine. The book was on display at his middle school library. There are books these are the books offered to kids in public schools. Okay, let's do this off the bat because the person who wrote this tweet has brainworms or has always been fucking stupid. Libraries carry an incredibly large range of books to check out. Also, libraries are not like, there's a reason why there's the like 3rd grade section, there's the 4th grade section, there's like the 5th grade section. When it comes to a library, what books are available isn't tailored to the individual ages or maturity of each child. These are literary works that have been, at the very least, vetted to be valuable in some form or fashion for children between, usually, if we're talking like a middle school, between the ages of what? I think that's like 9 to like 13, maybe, or like I'm not 100%. I don't remember how old I was in middle school off the top of my head. But yeah, like okay, like first of all, yeah, all of the books in a library are offered to kids because that's how a library works. Everything is offered to you. It's an open public place for you to have access to literature. Also, I also want to say, why is a child reading, if this is an explicit book, right? Like if this is, they say it's sexually explicit. Why the fuck are they letting a kid read it out loud? Does anybody else think that's a bit weird? Just saying.
This book was on a stand. I'd like to read you a page.
Was on a stand.
My back over my hips as
I ask if we should take our clothes off, and he's saying yes before I finish my sentence. He's pulling off my t-shirt, laughing when I can't undo his shirt buttons. He's undoing my belt. I'm reaching into his bedside drawer for a condom. We're kissing. Again, we're rolling over. Obviously, you can see where this is going. I don't know if it's because we're feeling especially emotional or just tired.
Wait. That's explicit?
Or these past couple of weeks have been too much. But this reminds me so much of the first time we had sex. We were both fucking terrified, and the whole thing was kind of terrible. We didn't know what.
That lady just say. So notice everybody's like, okay, so I'm blocking one of these guys. Let me see if I can here. I know you're gonna hate it. I'm gonna disappear for a moment. Everything is all right. 1 second, if I can remember which fucking thing makes me disappear. Like, you know, you got this dude down in the corner here. He's real upset. This girl down here is kind of like, seems kind of weird. You know, the dude in the middle, I think you could probably see he's like violently shaking his head. Homeboy in the middle on the right is just kind of watching, not super interested. Tim is, I don't know, probably jerking off or something. And this guy up at the top left, I have no idea what he's doing. I don't know why he has a weird Funko in front of him. I don't know. He's just kind of sitting there. But like the reactions of everybody is like disgust and like, oh my God, can you like believe this? To which, again, I have to point out, if this is such a controversial, explicit, everything that they describe it book, and this passage is as bad as they say it is, then why the fuck is this guy's probably redneck truck driving looking ass dad having him like come in and fucking read this shit out loud? Like, it's a bit weird, no? Like, why would, if it's really bad, why would you ask them to read it out loud except to make a political point, to which you're just kind of using your own child as a political tool, which, by the way, I would argue is actual child abuse. They're probably going to be like, letting a kid read a book voluntarily that has this material, that's child abuse. I think this is child abuse. Somebody should absolutely be calling CSA on whatever parent put this kid up to reading this in a public space, and then like filmed and sent out to all of Twitter to be disseminated to millions of people.
Good too, so good, because we were a mess of emotions, and we were scared and excited, and everything felt new. So this sort of this sort of feels like that. Nick touches me like he's scared of that any minute.
What? Whoa! Did you hear any? Okay. Can someone tell me how that was explicit? Genuinely, I like. If I remember when people got really fucking up in arms because is it the Alaska book? It's like a John Green book. I don't remember the exact name. It's like something Alaska, but like there's like a scene in it where I think there's actually two scenes. There's one scene where they like actually have sex and they're teenagers, and another one where they like, I think the like main character gets their dick sucked, but it's like uninteresting and it's written in a very like in a very artistic way. Like it's like detailed, but like not in like a very clinical way, it's not like built up to be a good moment because the character in the moment isn't really enjoying it the way that they thought they would, and it was disappointing or whatever. But like, I remember when people got really up in arms and that book got like banned for, you know, sexual content, and we all thought it was ridiculous then. And based on, if this I mean, this has to be the worst passage, right? Like, this has to be the worst passage. But like, what was there? Did you guys hear anything that was crazy? I certainly didn't. The worst thing, like the most like eye-raising thing is when they're like, somebody reach for a condom, to which I'm like, all right, like, yeah, people should be using condoms. Yeah, that's a good thing. We want that. Like, okay.
What book was that? Nick and Charlie. It's about gay people or something.
Two teen boys stealing wine from their parents and proceeding to experiment sexually with one another. Guys, he can't even say library properly. Like, why should he be learning about? He says library. Like, why?
I want to thank you, Knox, for speaking up and out. You got courage, man.
What? You got courage, man. Your dad put you up to that. You're a good warrior for the right, man.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Yeah, do you think that kid...
That's a brutal to have to go through that, dude.
And
My God, you had to read a book.
The dad said that this is actually not just at the younger kid's school. He has an older son who was at a high school in the area and said the book Genderqueer is allowed.
Oh, I have it.
Yeah.
It's here.
Yeah. So,
sorry to interrupt. You were saying?
No, exactly. But that's
available
in
and the gender
high school, so it's clearly just
it's a book about not being straight, and I don't even know if it's about being trans necessarily, but it's literally just a book about a teenager who's going through a the kind of typical questions of like, if somebody thinks they might be trans, they might be non-binary, they might be gay, like it's literally just a book for a book from the perspective of one of those people in life experiences. Like, it's not, we have books about coming of age, like, that involve sex and kids' sexual experiences and their sexual introduction. Like, yeah, it's pretty normal material for young adult novels.
That's nuts, because it's like a guy putting a prosthetic penis in his mouth.
I mean,
I
wasn't in school that long ago. Like, I feel like, how has it changed that much?
It would have been a huge deal if someone found that book in my school.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone would have known about it. It would have been all our parents. I would have told my parents. Everybody would have known about it.
What a fucking narc. He's like, I would have told my parents about it. Like, do you see this? They have a book about gay kids. And it's like, that's not a mark in your favor, my friend. I mean, yeah, school age kids are kind of homophobic, because especially like in my time, especially like my age, like there were whole like while gay acceptance was like more of a thing for my generation, and certainly in my graduating class, like it was a lot more of a I think an acceptance of non-heterosexual folks and stuff. But like, yeah, like you like, there were always people who would be like, excuse me, Miss Librarian, ma'am, this book it has gay people in it, and it's promoting gay values, which are not in line with the teachings of Jesus Christ. And then those librarians would be like, okay, cool, that's really nice. This is a library. I don't care. There are people here who aren't like Jesus lovers. You can not check it out. Nobody's forcing you to. Also, from what I understand, I'm not like I'm trying to like find it. What's the thing? I found the thing earlier. Yeah, I think we'll just use this one. I used this earlier to read. But like, yeah, like the crazy thing to me is like, go away ad. Yeah, this kid's 11, right? This kid's 11, and I think I remember reading this. The book's advisory is that you're not supposed to read it until you're like 14. Like he's not even supposed to have the book yet, right? Like, yeah. Did they read the passage? Book was let's see. Knox proceeded to read, my back over my hips. I asked if he should take his clothes off. He was saying yes before I finished my sentence. He's pulling off my t-shirt, laughing when I can't undo his shirt buttons. He's undoing my belt. I'm reaching into his beside drawer for a condom. When I rented... Oh, that's it. Is that it? Okay, cool. Yeah, was that explicit? Was any of that explicit? And again, he's an 11-year-old reading a book for 14 or older year olds. So yeah, no, like there wasn't an intention for him to get the book. Most likely, like they might be arguing like, oh, well, like how did he get the book if he's not supposed to get the book? He's this certain age. Well, here's the question. Is it insane to think? And I know this is going to be, hear me out here. is it impossible to think that this kid's parents already knew about this book's existence, knew about this, about this book and the genderqueer book, and they instructed their child to try and, to check the book out of the library. And when confronted by a librarian, the librarian, rings the book, is like, ooh, you're only 11, kid. I don't know about this. This is for 14 years or older. How much do you want to, how insane is it to think that this kid probably mentioned I really want to read this book. I've heard that it might help me and da-da-da-da-da. Are we sure that this kid didn't just lie or even pretend to have a particular interest in this book so that they could get it in the hands of their parents, so their parents could go read it through, find the most explicit passages, so they could then bring this kid to this fucking school board meeting, have their 11-year-old child read something that they deem inappropriate, so that they can, make a political message and they can get the gays out of their libraries. I know that doesn't sound. I know that sounds completely insane, but I gotta wonder. I do have to wonder. Yeah, and it seems like and at worst, that's at worst. At best, their best explanation is that the librarian decided, hey, maybe this kid needs to read something like this. Sure, I'll let him check it out. It'll be fine. And even then, what will we do then? Just implement stronger, give the, I don't even know about suspend them. Probably just have a meeting with them and be like, hey, you need to be discerning more with the age restriction of these books. And that's it. That's best case, that's the worst possible version of this. But no, their issue isn't that he got a hold of the book. The issue is that it's there at all. It's not about if he got it. It's not about if the librarian gave it to him or let him check it out. They're not even arguing that. They're upset that it's even in the schools to begin with.
Would have been people would have lost their jobs for this kind of thing in 1987.
Yeah,
probably, because 1987 was a shit time like the rest of the 80s.
Their queer book. I think most people watching the show already know what I've had to say about it, but conservatives haven't even read it. And every time I talk to some conservatives, like, oh, I know that book. I'm like, did you read it? The answer is no. And then my attitude is this is why I am not in favor of blanket book bans, because people should be able to have access to something to understand what it is. That's totally different than if children are getting access to something. I think certain, certain books and stuff should be restricted for children. Obviously, we ban porn. But this book is a story.
Well, it's really funny you'd say that, because there was an age advisory on the book, meaning that, again, this 11-year-old is not intended to be reading this. They've already accounted for, ooh, this isn't appropriate for 11-year-olds. Let's make it for 14 or up so that 11-year-olds don't get a hold of it. It's actually also funny because I remember when I was a kid, I used to go to Blockbuster Video all the time. I don't know how many people remember Blockbuster Video. It was this magical place with 1 million copies of the same 5 DVDs basically. But there was, you would go into the store. There was the kids section, there was the action section, there was the horror section, there was the drama section, there was the romance section. And here's the crazy thing. Is that as a kid, I would be able to freely roam the Blockbuster Video, pick up and read the synopses, look at, not watch the movie necessarily, but interact with adult entertainment products, right? And it's oh my God. And we didn't have a panic over that. Kids are always around adult entertainment. They're always around it. All you can't control this without trying to control media, without mass censorship of media. But like, what do these people do? They cause stir over like, can you believe there was like a like book intended for 18-year-olds in the same library that 14-year-olds attend? And it's like, yeah, it's called a fucking library in a high school, meaning that there's going to be kids who are like 17 or 18, depending on like, you know, if they started later, if they started early, and then kids who just started like entering into the school. Like, we have like libraries are there for a wide range of people to be able to consume literature. Like, this isn't even that interesting, but they've made it into a whole fucking thing.
Of the extreme psychological abuse of a young woman and how it created someone who is traumatized and needs like deep therapy. It is not this. It is not. So
what are we talking about? Wait, I'm sorry.
Abuse of a. That's totally different than if children are getting access to something. I think certain, like certain books and stuff should be restricted for children. Obviously, we ban porn, but this book is the story of the extreme psychological abuse of a young woman and how it created someone who is traumatized and needs like deep therapy. It is not this. It is not
crazy.
So, for a few examples, for those who didn't hear this, she couldn't read till she was 12. She was pissing outside when she was a child. She was never taught how to take care of her body. So she would wear old crusted pads in school, and she smelled like feces to the point where she got called into the counselor and they complained and said, people are complaining of your smell and you need to do something about this. So this poor young woman, hairy legs, hairy armpits, totally unsocialized by weird hippie parents who have her peeing in the yard. And then she feels some kind of social rejection because she doesn't know how to fit in with her peers. And she writes about it, how she's like, I can't read, I smell bad, and people are being mean to me. So she's not non-binary. She's just traumatized because because her parents abused her.
And this book that Knox is reading, I still don't know, Nick and Charlie, about two young underage kids drinking alcohol. Like, is that a form of neglect, abuse by the parents? The kids, not that you can't, like, a kid's gonna do what a kid does, but I believe
this happens in books all the fucking time. Kids get a hold of alcohol before the age of 21. It happens all the fucking time in YA novels. This is like the thing that kind of irritates me is they mention these aspects of like fiction for like children that have been like in fiction. This has been in, these are tropes that you're describing, my guy. These aren't new things. They're not even commentaries on the parents. They're commentaries on like usually a different time of being a child. A lot of times you'd read like books that take place more like in the 50s, 60s, or 70s, kind of in in a past time when like kids could get away with like fucking like stealing some beer or like any of these other like petty things. And it's not like bad. It's just that's how things were. Like, these are tropes. You're describing tropes. Like, read a fucking
parent
book.
The kid properly. Like, I didn't drink until I was 23 because my parents told me don't do it. It's horrible for you. I tasted it once. It tasted disgusting. I was like, all right, I'm not going to do it.
I think you might be in the minority on that.
That's unfortunate. It's kind of weird. I gotta say, it's kind of weird that
not
this
really.
Nick and Charlie book's written by a woman. I just think that's weird. Maybe that's just me. Like, if it was written by,
God forbid, women are
a gay man
writers.
writing about his experience growing up and discovering he was gay and stuff, I'd be like, I get it. But it's written by a woman who is like, it almost seems like some kind of weird, I don't know. She's sitting there imagining what it must be like to be a teenage boy hooking up with another teenage boy. It seems weird.
You think that their mentality, because this should not be in a...
I'm sorry, but like, are we here to police authors writing from a perspective that's not theirs? Like, am I the only one who's kind of like, so what you're telling me is women can't write about boys or men, and men can't write about girls or women? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is this like anti-artistic, anti-literature, anti-like fucking freedom take here? Like, okay.
School. A book
idiot.
about two young underage kids having sex with each other should not be in a government school, in my opinion. But you think the argument's like, hey, there's so many books anyway, we can't keep count, and it's all on the internet anyway. If they want to read it, it's there.
I've heard that.
Wait, say that again?
And a book about two young underage kids having sex with each other should not be.
Okay, cool. So here's the thing. Do kids have sex while they're underage? Yes. Okay, cool. So it's not something new that kids are experiencing for the first time. It's kind of something that's always been a part of like every coming of age story, basically. Like, it's not weird. Like, I don't know why we're suddenly treating this as like it's weird. Like, there are hundreds, if not thousands of books in every fucking school library that involves a heterosexual relationship and the sexual, not even confusion, inexperience of the characters in that relationship in thousands of kids books, of like young adult novels. This isn't fucking weird. It's the most normal fucking thing kids think about. Have you ever met a fucking like 14, 15 or 16-year-old, especially young boys? All they can fucking do is think about having sex and when they're gonna have sex and what it's gonna be like and how that's gonna happen and who's it's gonna be with. Fuck's sake, there's a reason why these YA novels always kind of address in some form or fashion like that aspect of being a child, because that's a big part of a child's development, of like somebody growing into an adult in some form or fashion. Like, yeah, no fucking shit. Like, do you guys have fucking problems with like The Breakfast Club, a touchstone of American cinema, but regardless is still like interested in the relationship, or not the relationship necessarily, the like speculation of somebody's sexual activity by like Molly Ringwald's character, or even like what's the I forget if it's Pretty in Pink or what the or if it's 16 Candles. I think it's 16 Candles. Like 16 Candles, the book where like, you know, they have like all of the nerds fucking, you know, the one nerd makes like a deal with Molly Ringwald's character to get her panties or whatever. And like these are things that teenagers are constantly like angsty about. Like, and writers write about that stuff to give them direction, to give them a way to frame their life, to give them an understanding that the feelings and the like unsure nature of those feelings are a normal part of being a person, of being a human. Like, oh my God, like I can't stand that they're pretending like this is weird. It's the most normal fucking thing ever.
In a government school, in my opinion, but you think the argument's like, hey, there's so many books anyway, we can't keep count, and it's all on the internet anyway. If they want to read it, it's there.
I've heard that argument a lot of times. Like, if kids want to get access to this stuff, they're going to get access to it, so we might as well have it be like the you know,
that is a argument
prize-winning version of it.
Access to information because of the internet is a big issue. I think when an age where kids could get on the internet could be a big issue, because if they could access the internet, they could get crazier stuff than anything that's written in this book. And
absolutely.
I don't know. What about TikTok? We see a lot of...
The woman who wrote this is like 28 or 29 years old.
Yeah. So we see videos from...
weird.
Authors are ages. Get over it, Tim. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Here, Tim, let me solve this for you. Women are better writers. There, I solved it for you. Now shut the fuck up.
Of TikTok, of crazier stuff.
The most uninteresting fucking thing ever.
Hours, and there have been some crazy videos that they uploaded recently of some things in England where they're like stripping in front of children.
Babies.
So that's
like doing sex performance moves in front of babies.
Yeah.
I'm not even exaggerating. It's like a dozen babies.
Oh, are they talking about are they talking about the thing where like 3 and under year olds who literally can't remember anything? I'm not even sure if they've mastered object permanence after a point, are going to be like confused by a person, a human being of like questionable gender assignment moving around. Like, yeah, they'll be fine, Tim. It's fine. It's really not the biggest deal.
And they're like,
remember when we used to do that for like the Teletubbies, when you were like, oh my gosh, the Teletubbies, and now it's like, oh my gosh, a stripper for babies.
You think the
like,
Teletubbies were grooming kids? Because that was after my kid time. I was out of the house.
This dude is the weird. I fucking hate this guy. Like on site, I fucking hate this guy. He's so fucking weird to me. He's got such a weird stare. This has nothing to do with this is unsubstantial, but like this guy's fucking weird. This dude definitely watches child porn.
I just thought they were so weird.
and brainwashy, like and like making this weird beeping sounds and like gyrating back and forth. I'm like, what is this? God.
Teletubbies
I don't know.
was
I was
fucking
mesmerized
wild.
by
The scariest thing was it was the flaming baby head, the burning baby head that would be in the sky.
He was the sun.
You're like, ah. No, Teletubbies was fine. I don't know. I just don't understand why I do all this weird stuff for kids, where it's like, think about the.
Also, do I really need to say it? I think I covered this already. Like the drag show thing in the UK where you bring your 3-year-old is for parents who want a fun night out but also can't afford a babysitter. Like parents do this all the time. They can't afford babysitters, they can't get a babysitter, but they want to go out and live like at least moderately normal lives, and it's why you have like, you bring your kid to a headphone, like a headphone rave or whatever, a silent rave or something like that, like things to like get parents out and they can take their kids to. But, they can still operate mostly as like adults for the most part. They just, if you can't leave the kid at home, if you don't got a babysitter, you still want to go out. Like that's all that was for. The purpose wasn't to bring your child. The purpose is to offer that experience to adults who have kids who can't get babysitters but still want to go out. It's really not that deep, and it's not that what's the word? It's not that it's just not that deep.
Pre-television era, what were children seeing all day, every day in their entertainment? A human being telling a story, reading a book with very few pictures.
Oh my
and then when
God.
TV comes around, all of a sudden you got like Snuffleupagus and like Big Bird and weird,
So
creepy
would you
monster
like us to
things
go back
going
to just like
and the
all
kids
the
are like,
kids
identified
gather
with that.
around like one
There was a
guy
time where you had,
That's how we got furries.
yes,
and like
parents,
he reads a book in
parents
front
put
of
kids in front of TVs and turn on Looney
a
Tunes.
whole bunch of
and then these kids start
and that's
identifying
it.
with the social interactions of cartoon animals. And that's why when you look at pictures of furries, they don't dress up like actual animals. They dress up like Bugs Bunny kind of animals with big eyes, and they look like cartoon characters.
That's part of the anime culture too, though.
Furry?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Tim watches anime. It's like, wait. I watch anime. No. It's not. That's not me.
We were just at
Also, by the way, if he was like at all like, if he was at all on target with that like, with that comparison, you would see so many more furries. Do you know how many like shows I watch with people in like costumes or dressed as animals or involved animals? Almost all of them. But like, how many people are actually furries? An incredibly small, marginal group of people. And even them, that's part of like not even like a majority of like a whole community. Like the people who actually like, there are people who draw like furry porn, but then they don't like dress up. So it's like, even then within that community, there's not like there's not even a 100% retention of the whole dressing up as a animal or whatever the fuck. Like it's just no. Like if this was such an epidemic, you'd see way more furries, but you don't. They're pretty unique to see out in the wild, if I'm being honest.
Katsucon, my team and I didn't go, but my team went and we were all discussing everything. It's fascinating to see the anime culture and the inroads it has into grooming, actually.
What is Katsucon? I'm sorry.
It's
because lolly
not to be
shit.
offensive. It's just like a convention of like anime lover, nerdy people. Just
say weebs. It's not offensive. You can just say weebs.
Felt very harmless when I was there until I learned how the inroads of it. I mean, that can take you from something very harmless, like dressing up like a furry or dressing up like an anime.
But furry is not cosplay.
Yes and no. Some of them have those conventions just like that.
I mean, they're not the same thing. Furry is very different from cosplay, but there's probably.
I don't know if I agree with that. I would have to have somebody explain to me how they're different, but okay.
Probably some overlap for sure.
Yeah,
so some
there's
furries
I'm
cosplay,
sure there's
some don't.
Yeah, there was a cosplaying furry at my high school.
Yeah, I mean, there's for some reason furry Nazis. Like they wear fur suits and then they get like they dress up.
Well,
like
yeah, there's
whatever,
there's
man, I don't know.
Nazis.
I was fortunate to grow up in the era of reading Rainbow with LeVar Burton. What's up?
You're a fucking loser. Oh my god, I hate this guy. I fucking hate this guy. His whole thing is like, I grew up in the fucking 80s when everything was amazing except for the AIDS crisis and everything and the what's the word I'm looking for? The breakdown of our public systems by Reagan. Oh yeah, totally. Like, shut the fuck up. God damn. I hate people who do like the I grew up in a better time shit. It's the most cringy boomer fucking meme ever. Like, I'm sorry, your childhood fucking sucked. Shut the fuck up.
LeVar, one of the best. I mean, just easy shows where he just reads a book, or
Reading
actually
Rainbow's
a kid that
ass.
reads a book, and then Mr. Rogers, where it's a guy, a genuine dude, like sitting there looking at the camera, giving you encouragement, and then
Imagine quoting like
educating you by-
imagine quoting Mr. Rogers but failing to understand or even like synthesize the like empathy and like values that Mr. Rogers pushed. Like Mr. Rogers like actively spoke to kids in a respectable way and tried to get them and tried to communicate a understanding, a worldview of empathy and of understanding to create better kids. And yet this fucking idiot is on this fucking show continually constantly doing like the my childhood was like way better. My childhood was like, everything was way better back when I was a kid, even though that's the same thing everybody fucking says. Guess what? Your parents said the same thing about their childhood over yours. Their parents said the same thing about theirs over theirs. Like, everyone always thinks their childhood was the best. You want to know why? Because childhood's great. You don't have to work. You don't got bills. You don't got problems. You just go and have fun for the most part. Like, yeah, no shit, idiot. Like, also, again, way to not synthesize any of the information, any of the lessons of Mr. Roger. Good job. Fucking
by
rolling
reading
in his
books and
grave.
telling you about it's how to tie your shoes and like things, like things that kids may
And
not
Mr.
know.
Rogers also come out like
I thought
pro-gay, like at a time
I was
when
thinking this and I couldn't type it out. It wasn't
really
typable
socially
thing, but, like, until you're
acceptable.
able as a human to create order in reality around you, I don't think you should have the ability to cut yourself up or sterilize yourself. And like,
what the
I just
fuck does
assumed
that
every
even
kid
fucking
eventually-
mean? The dude yesterday said mentioned does like the mutilation and cutting up and what does any of this mean? And what does any of it have to do with anything? We're not talking about trans kids right now. We're talking about literature and First Amendment rights. Fucking Christ. These people, they're just so fucking obsessed with they just want to talk about the mutilation of children. Here's a fun fact. The percentage of kids under the age of medical consent who are getting top or bottom surgery is infinitesimal. It is a number I'm not even sure it hits the double digits. And even then, even if you could find children who have surgeries that would be described as gender assignment at all, there is at the very least a non-zero percentage of them that are getting it because they are intersex. There are not kids getting surgeries as trans affirmative care below the age, generally below the age of like 18 or 16. It kind of depends on the severity, and it also depends on the laws of medical consent in each state. But either way, this is an incredibly small group that they're pretending is like happening every single day. There's Matt Walsh did this. They asked Matt Walsh, "Oh, hey Matt, how many kids are getting like these surgeries done?" And this happened months ago that they asked this dipshit. They asked him, "How many kids are having these surgeries done? How many of them are actually going through with any of these surgeries? How many of them are actually going through with this, that, or the other?" And you know what Matt Walsh says? Just like these fucking tards, they're gonna fucking say, I bet like millions and, a couple 100,000, all these kids, tons of kids, da-da-da-da-da. And then when they go look up the numbers, it's like, yeah, there was like maybe 100, like maybe in like a year, like over the course of like the last couple of years, we're like maybe striking at 1,000. And even then, like, it's such a small group, but it's so fucking stupid. It's like, you are picking out the smallest possible group to describe like an entire like fucking healthcare and like healthcare approach for an entire segment of this country. Like, fucking Jesus.
We'll get
It's
to a
so
place where they
fucking
can create order
dishonest.
in reality. I don't think
What
that's
is
the
order
case,
in
though.
reality
Nah.
anyway?
You need a good,
There's no such
strong
thing as
parental unit
creating
to help you
order.
learn how to do that.
I think we're seeing how
Fucking
broken
stupid.
culture and society is because of the us being cut from our roots. You know, what is it?
What does
Cut
that
flower
mean?
politics or whatever that Dennis Prager calls it. You pluck the flower from its roots and it looks beautiful, but then eventually withers and decays. And so,
Does flour come from roots? Am I fucking insane? Is that how flour is made? Is he talking about wheat?
we've been severed from the roots that have made this country an amazing place. And so now we're starting to wither.
You know, I would like to do a Timcast show. If you want to do a show where I read books to kids and talk to
Oh
them
my
and
God,
encourage
never. That is the most pedo
we
shit
need
I've ever
more of
heard of
that
in my
in
life.
society. It doesn't have to be to kids either.
Ian Carson story.
I actually have. I did the Phantom Toll Booth. I have, like,
you know, not to quote another conservative. Actually, I think it might have been from this show. If they wanted to do that, I need to ask, why is this adult man hanging around a bunch of kids? What a fucking groomer. Like,
19 video series on YouTube on my playlists where I read the Phantom Toll Booth. It's one of my most popular. It's my most popular playlist by far.
No, we should do a Go-Go Dancer story hour.
Yeah, we need
What's
more
the difference?
wholesome, like, just
What?
genuine encouragement for children.
The left would love it. You make tons of money. Well, they're totally into that stuff, right? As a moneymaker right there.
tons of money. Remember, the richest subsect of our society is trans people. Trans people really do hold the levers of power in terms of finance in this country. It's not right wing donors and billionaires. No. It's trans activists. They hold the real coffers here.
Go-Go Dancer story hour. There's no difference. There's literally none. Go-Go dancers do not get naked. They dance on stage. They strut around for
This
tips.
is correct.
And they remove parts of clothing, but they still keep their undergarments on.
Is it just
Right.
too, like, is it just, have we...
Fun fact, that's not what family-friendly drag performers do. They walk around, keep the clothes on that they started with, and then you can give them tips. Those two things aren't the same. Like, go to a family-friendly drag, go to like a PG drag show. They're usually wearing like a lot of clothing, not really a lot of skin. They just kind of dance around, do their thing, and yeah. Now, if you want to go to a like not PG drag show, then yeah, you might, you know, that's comparable, but that's not what, you know, it's the difference between PG movies and R-rated movies. They're both still movies, but there's a certain level of content allowance, you know, that delineates the difference between those two things.
evolved past showing kids puppets and telling them you're okay and being cool? Is that just
Why aren't-
no, give it up?
Wait,
like,
but I
forget
thought
about it,
puppets
move on?
make you
I think
a
your
furry.
point actually just goes to my point that I made earlier, which is like the go-go dancers would somehow be dubbed inappropriate because you're sexualizing women because it's a straight thing. But
Right.
you know, you make it LGBT.
Male go-go dancers.
And I don't even know. You're not explaining
Only if
how.
the males kiss each other, though.
Yeah.
Magic Mike kids.
Then it's not.
There you go.
But yeah, then it's not really.
Imagine thinking you're not the groomer and you want to take kids to like a go-go dancing event. Nobody on the left wants this. We just want family-friendly versions of performances. We just want age-appropriate. But like here they are in their studio having a gay old time, talking about taking the kids to go-go dance performances. Hey, look, if that's what you're into, if that's what you want to take your family to, man, no judgment here.
Then it's considered appropriate.
Like,
right?
I don't even
Because
want
it's
to. Wait. I don't even want to read other people's
two
kids.
lady go-go
Feels
dancers,
weird.
Yes.
but they kiss before.
Then it would be appropriate
Sounds
according to our
like
modern society.
the reaction I just got from talking to reading.
I love how they don't have anybody like even ostensibly on the left to like be like, yeah, no, you're all stupid. Like, yeah, none of this is what any of us have ever advocated for. This is only you are talking about taking kids to strip clubs. Let's be clear.
Reading to kids is like, it's like this. Don't mess with other people's kids. Like, I don't even want to get involved now. I don't even want to touch it. Like, let those kids do it on their own. I don't want to
Who
help
said
society.
that? Who said that?
No, the whole vibe is like,
Yeesh.
it's just so dirty about like.
Ian's feelings got hurt because nobody supported his.
I don't know, man. Why are people not more interested in helping children? They would talk about the problems all day. But where's the solutions?
Thanks for watching this clip.
What's the problem? What do you mean my kids? The people who take their kids to like drag to PG drag shows, like they're not taking other people's kids, they're taking their kids. Like, the fuck? Such a weird fucking take. I don't even I genuinely don't understand the hysteria. Like I understand it from like a they rile themselves up kind of way, but to this day I just can't imagine being like this obsessed with the whole like this obsessed with it, and like it's on your mind like 24/7. But I don't know, man. Just shit is wild. All right. So I know we have the Trump one. Trump thing was the last thing on the list. I'm thinking, just because we don't have the time, I'm thinking we'll just do that at the top of the show on Thursday, and then I don't know. We'll kind of see. Maybe somebody will come on. I'm not sure yet, but yeah. We'll kind of see if somebody wants to come on. I'm just going to check Twitter and like YouTube real quickly, see if there's anything that we can quickly touch on. The hell is this? Let's see. What do we got? Oh, hey. What is this? From the Surfs. I mentioned this person earlier. The courting has gone completely nuclear and is claiming to reveal the truth about his far-right colleagues being closeted homosexuals or sexually obsessed with trans people, chasers. He claims to expose Eliza Schaefer, Jake Posobiec, and Mike Cernovich. Let's see. Yes, the harsh truth is many are cocksmokers. People learn nothing from John Goldberg and Giga, aka Giga Chad, indie porn star Jack Murphy. Wife cheaters, fake religious, trans. This is large chunk of the right wing. I've hung out with these people IRL. Wrote whole article. But can you prove it? Excuse me, I don't believe you because you say so. Prove it instead of just claiming it. Interesting. Loads of right-wing commentators are either closeted gays or tranny chasers. Look, I accept and support them, but many of these people you think are based in red-pilled love trans. Man, imagine thinking like that. Oh man, imagine having a thing that says you paid on your fucking Twitter account. That is some fucking loser shit. I'm sorry. Like, I understand people who are like, I have to, like when it comes down to like the like, yeah, I like have to because I'm a public figure and stuff. I understand that, but the quartering is like the type of guy that's like, oh yes, fucking Elon, take my $8, yes. Like, talk about living cock, like Jesus. The modern white green is controlled and psyop. They are worse NPCs than the left. Oh, that's absolutely true. If this makes you mad, then unfollow. If you can't see the obvious, most of these pundits love dick. They love drugs, cheating. Hey man, hey, look, if you like cock, there's nothing wrong with that. Drugs, same one. Unless it's harmful to you, in which case don't do drugs. You want to get mad at me? If you think I'm making it I think that's 90 seconds of your own time, do a little digging. Do we have receipts, or are these just 100% outing? I don't care. These are loads. Loads. Elijah or no. Outed 3 major conservative. Still demand more. How many of these folks? What's the evidence? I mean, like, I just want to know what the evidence is. Lots of panic in my DMs. Don't care. When was this? 3 hours ago? March 6th. Wait, okay, let's see. The quartering. Let's take a look. Let's see. YouTuber fakes being adopt don't care. Angry Joe destroyed. Who cares? Yeah, these are like, man, this is the quartering's entire channel is just cancer. Woke ESPN, Mr. Beast, Elon drops facts on Jan 6. Crowder. Oh, well, no, I don't see. Ebby Meltdown. Wait. Adams, don't care. Hershey's, don't care. Russell Brand, don't care. Okay, so no, he hasn't actually dropped the goods. God damn it. Okay, we'll check on this on Thursday. I'll keep this in the back of my mind for Thursday. Maybe we'll go over it. Infighting is always appreciated. I always love it. Anyway, okay, that's gonna be it. Sorry, just got distracted. Anyway, that's gonna be it for today. Do I have any? Yeah, we'll go over the Trump CPAC speech on Thursday. We'll also keep an eye on that quartering one, because that sounds like a lot of fun. But otherwise, yeah, that's the end of the show. I realize I haven't done any, as they call in the industry, calls to action. So let me do that really quick. If you've enjoyed any of what you saw, got some catharsis out of it, learned anything, I would certainly encourage you to hit that follow button if you're on Twitch, and hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Really helps me out, helps out the channel. Just generally, it makes things better for everybody, for you, for me, for, you know, for even the people who don't interact with these videos. But either way, you all have a lovely night. I'll see you all Thursday, and bye-bye.